I have a mobile phone in my Dantian. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 701 Star Power. Sudong estimated earlier that when he exploded his divine body power in the ultimate mode, his power should be around level 6. And now, the power of the star power alone has reached level 6. What if it explodes again? It is very likely to reach level 8. But there is no need to try. Why is the power called an explosion? It is used only in life and death battles. The real measure of strength is the power positioning under normal conditions. Level 6 is a standard of the 8 crown and 9 crown shuriken. The star power is so much stronger than ordinary power. Sudong was surprised and happy. Although he had an intuition that he could control everything before, he felt that everything was under control when his power was strong, but he was still uncertain without trying. It was only now that it was truly proven, and of course he was excited. The strength sword. There are two reasons why the star power has such power. One is that the 7 stars themselves are extraordinary, and the other is because of the special operation trajectory. Sudong sighed. This operation trajectory is completely a great opportunity. If it were not for the breakthrough of his will, and the integration of the core data into the void of the mountain and sea world, Sudong would never have seen the scene of the flaming stars in his life. Of course, not to mention mastering the power of stars. The power of stars, to Sudong, feels like he is using the original power of a huge void to attack. The power contained is too terrifying, extremely special, and outrageously powerful. Before mastering the power of stars, Sudong felt that he was also a member of the living beings, but at this moment, Sudong seemed to have reached another level, high above. The energy he controls is different, and the feeling is also different. It seems that he has surpassed another level. This change in feeling is subconscious, but it is a real feeling. It is as if he has mastered the energy of the void. From then on, he is not a member of life, but a higher existence. Of course, the trajectory of his 7 stars is arranged according to the void flame star. The core data space is also more like an expanding void. The most important thing is the star map. Lighting up the stars can not only transform me as a whole, but also transform the stars and create star power. Every star is like an energy node in Sudong's eyes. It is the source of power, and the energy contained in it is related to the Dao of Heaven. In the past, Sudong had no idea how to light up the stars. He just relied on the passage of time to slowly light them up. But now, he has found a way. Burn the Dao essence, nourish Dao Shendan, such Dao essence fragments, to light up the stars. I never thought that the Dao Shendan contained Dao essence to light up the star map, and I never thought that the stars could be used in this way to give birth to the power of the stars, which is so much stronger than ordinary divine power. Sudong exclaimed. His eyes were shining. Today's series of breakthroughs made Sudong excited. Of course, this series of breakthroughs can be said to be coincidental, but also inevitable. The stars are lit up. All-round transformation. Sudong's will is transformed to a higher level, and then touch the power of the stars. It can only be said that they are all the benefits brought by the breakthrough. The most fundamental thing is to light up the stars, and the most essential thing is the star map. The star map. 361 stars, extremely mysterious, belong to Sudong's unique practice system. In the future, my cultivation direction will be to light up the stars. However, to light up the stars, you need to nourish the Dao Shendan. Dao Shendan. The higher the realm of Dao, the higher the foundation of Dao Shendan, the better the efficiency. Sudong quickly calmed down. He was tough. He had grown up through many storms and waves. He could turn sadness and joy into peace in an instant. He calmly thought about his own cultivation path. It was obvious that he was cultivating the 2 major divine bodies and taking the direction of the Holy Spirit. Powerful paths always complement each other. If Sudong had just studied the star map at the beginning, would he have achieved what he has now? It is impossible. If the level of Dao is not enough, you can't even touch the Dao, let alone the Dao Shendan. The reason why the strong become strong. It is not achieved overnight. A tall building rises from the ground. It is all step by step. Slowly working towards becoming stronger, and in the process of hard work, maybe a great opportunity will come. Sudong believes that he has a good fortune, but if he doesn't work hard and doesn't keep moving forward, a wrong step may limit his life. Burning the Dao essence. My current Holy Spirit path is only the Dao initial stage, and the Dao essence is thin. Keep burning? Sudong shook his head. It would be fine if he tried hard to light up a star, but if he kept burning, even if he burned out the Dao essence of his two divine bodies, he would fall to the Holy Spirit level and might not be able to light up the 8th star. If I burn the Dao essence again, I have to wait until the Dao essence is restored, and the Super Touch divine body can only burn 2/10, and the 5-colored stone clone can burn 1/3. Sudong made a plan. It was too much. His two divine bodies were weak. Yes, the star power was strong, but long-term weakness would likely affect the traces. If he encountered any danger, once the two divine bodies were destroyed, his core data space will was just software. That would be unfair. But the stars need to be lit, and he needs to continuously improve the Dao God pill. There are 3 solutions. Sudong sat in the training field and took out the fairy wine. He poured himself a glass, drank the fairy wine, and thought. He was in a very good mood. This kind of good is a kind of good that is like seeing the moon through the clouds, and it is extremely refreshing. This book was recently updated on #@. Update. The first way is to find the 96 Dao Yun fragments recorded in the Rang Dao chapter. Devour the Dao Yun fragments to nourish and refine Dao Shendan to light up the stars. This is the best, with no side effects. The second way is to slowly rely on the 2 major divine bodies now, and rely on a large number of elixirs that restore the foundation of Dao Yun to restore Dao Yun, and burn Dao Yun for a long time. This efficiency is bound to be low. After all, no matter how good the elixir is, it takes time to recover. Let the main war god body be weak for a long time. Sudong was unwilling to do so. The third way is to cultivate more divine body clones, and they are divine bodies at the level of the Holy Spirit. This kind of divine body must also condense Dao Shendan. The third way is to rely on the uniqueness of his own core data space. He is destined to have many divine bodies. Although the realm of the divine body I possess is destined not to surpass the main battle divine body, because my main battle divine body is all Holy Spirit. So even if I cultivate a very high bloodline, an innate creature that reaches the level of the divine emperor and immortal emperor, I can also quickly upgrade to become a Holy Spirit void ancestor. The main battle divine bodies are all Holy Spirits, and there are no shackles at all. If the main battle divine body is too weak, the divine body of the clone is even weaker. This is the limitation of the heavenly Dao, and Sudong was also restricted in the past. Weak strength. Restricted everywhere. The stronger the strength, the smaller the restrictions. Even if you become a Holy Spirit, there is no such restriction. This is the horror of Sudong's core data clone. Each one is a clone, and each one is a carrier. The essence is the core data space will. To cultivate a clone at the level of the Holy Spirit, the divine body cannot be too bad, otherwise it will also affect the quality of the Dao Shendan, and the affinity to the Dao cannot be too bad. Sudong silently calculated. Cultivating clones. There are 2 problems. First, can the clone condense the Dao Shendan 100%? Second, the Dao Shendan condensed by different divine bodies is different. The Dao Shendan condensed by the 5-colored stone clone is a congenital creature, but the quality of the Dao Shendan is not as good as that of the Tuosh divine body. In terms of divine body, the 5-colored stone clone is equally strong. The weakness is in its own comprehension. Comprehension, to put it bluntly, is the perception and affinity of the Dao. This is the key to affecting the Dao Shendan. Chapter 702 Cultivating a Clone. Dao Shendan is the key. There is only one purpose for having more divine body clones, which is to burn the Dao essence of the clone's divine body, to sacrifice Dao Shendan, so as to light up the stars. Therefore, the quality of Dao Shendan cannot be too bad for the level of Dao essence mastered by the clone's divine body. The divine body cannot be too bad either. Sudong drank the immortal wine and thought silently. With such high requirements, the cultivation of the clone must pay a great price. After all, the top divine body divine power The consumption of cultivating and nurturing the top divine body clone is not small. Even if I reach the realm level, I still need a lot of treasures. From weak to strong, all need to be piled up. Now there are two problems. The first is to verify whether the clone's divine body can definitely have Dao Shendan. This needs to be proved by trial. Although it is an attempt, it is also necessary to cultivate the top divine body clone to prove it. The appearance of Dao Shendan is also related to one's own strength. After all, Sudang's two divine bodies are not weak. Moreover, at his level, the clone will be at the level of Holy Spirit as soon as it is cultivated. And the consumption is even more enormous. In the past, I didn't cultivate it because it was meaningless. For combat power, one more or one less divine body clone would not have much impact on strength. If the strength level is not enough, no matter how many clones there are, they will be killed instantly in front of a real strong man. It's different now. Cultivating the divine body is to light up the stars faster and improve strength. It's worth it to consume everything. That's it. 3 methods. Find Dao Yun fragments. Cultivate clones of divine bodies. Improve your own strength. Sudang stood up. His eyes were much firmer. He was tough, and he firmly believed that his own strength was the foundation. That's why he came all the way to now. Only when his strength improves more, it will be easier to find Dao Yun fragments. If he reaches the Dao Zuan realm, the Dao Yun river he controls will be much stronger, and the improvement will be multiplied. Then Sudang's eyes flickered. You can also look for suitable mobile phone applications that can help cultivate the cloned divine body. Sudang opened the mobile phone application in Dantian and browsed through many applications. Then he was a little disappointed. None of them could help in this regard. Mobile phone applications are not omnipotent. Sudang also browses them from time to time, but just like using a normal mobile phone, there are more than tens of thousands of applications in the App Store. But who would download all of them? Useless ones don't need to be paid attention to at all. The more powerful the level, the less helpful the applications in the App Store are. Only when you are weak, various applications will be of great help. Now Sudang's two divine bodies have only downloaded applications such as Xian Diyimu Xian, Eternal Space, 8-star application Infinite Divine Blood Evolution, and Divine Soul application Dragon Elephant Kun Divine Bell. These are all very practical applications. The App Store also needs to launch stronger and newer applications so that it can help him. Exit the mobile phone application. There is no other way. You can only cultivate the divine body clone honestly. There are many seeds of innate creatures in the void of the mountain and sea realm. Many Shura kings have abandoned their own divine bodies and changed to cultivate the innate creatures' Dao bodies to improve their strength. When a realm is reached, if one wants to have a higher level of divine body, or yearns for some kind of magical power, or wants to improve one's understanding of some aspects of the Dao, one will cultivate the innate creature's divine bodies. Once an innate creature becomes a Holy Spirit, it is the Dao body that is easiest to comprehend, the Dao of the heavenly Dao. In the void of the endless era, why do all the major forces select and train disciples and give priority to cultivating those with high levels of innate creatures' bloodline? Not only because at the same level, the divine bodies of innate creatures will be stronger, but more importantly, after breaking through the Holy Spirit level, it will also have an impact on the understanding of the Dao. Innate creatures. Since the birth of heaven and earth, the innate has an affinity for the Dao and is naturally blessed. For ordinary life, after reaching the Holy Spirit level, the bottleneck in the future may become larger and larger unless there is an opportunity to improve the innate understanding, such as absorbing the strange treasure of the purgatory breath to improve. Otherwise, it is normal for the strength to progress more and more slowly. But once the innate creatures cross the threshold of becoming a Holy Spirit, their strength will have another small burst period. For example, Qi Huang and Liu Tong. After becoming Holy Spirits, their progress is frighteningly fast. They can almost catch up with Sudang. On the other hand, the Silver Knife Shura King is just an ordinary divine body bloodline. After breaking through the Holy Spirit, his progress is much slower. Now he is not outstanding among many Shura Kings. Obviously, he has encountered a bottleneck. However, to cultivate a divine body clone, it is necessary to cut off one's own soul under normal circumstances. Even if it is to break through the Holy Spirit, it is also necessary. This will cause damage to the foundation, and treasures are needed to make up for it. The price is too high. Some holy spirits do not hesitate to use the void reincarnation talisman to cultivate from the beginning, actively enter the reincarnation. Of course, this is also the path that most of the holy spirit masters who are facing death will choose. The value of the void reincarnation talisman is not big, but it is not small. Generally, the holy spirit masters will give it to their younger disciples, but the real masters use the void reincarnation talisman. It will also assist some real treasures and elixirs. For example, some treasures that can lock the will to recognize the master, such as the magic weapon of the Temple of the Void God Court. If the will recognizes the master, there is no need to worry about losing it. Even if you are reincarnated in the void, many treasures can be kept. The magic pill is the Emperor's God pill. It can create a great foundation and become a god in broad daylight. It is thousands of times thicker than the life foundation of ordinary void reincarnation. Of course, unless the divine body is completely destroyed, Sudong does not need to go that far. There are countless treasures in the Yellow Spring Dao Mansion, and there are also innate spirit fetuses. Let's go to Shenzang Peak to have a look. Sudong did it as soon as he thought of it. He flew out of the Sword Tower Cave Mansion directly. He did not show off. He restrained his own aura and did not sacrifice the spring and autumn boat. Flying over the Shenzang Peak, he could see the undulating temples from afar. I remember the first time I came here, I exchanged for the Sky God Sword. Sudong's figure flew down. This book has been updated recently in @ update. Many Shura kings passing by, the king saw it, and they all clasped their fists. Sudong Shura King, the first in the Dao Palace competition. Sudong Shura King, who is recognized as the successor to the Yama Palace Shura King. The 10 Palace Shura Kings are constant. They all respect and admire him. Sudong's reputation in the mountain and sea realm is indeed high now. In the past, others would provoke and look down on him when they saw him. But now, the 100 consecutive victories in the peak competition of the Dao Palace competition not only prove his potential, but also prove his terrifying strength. From entering the mountain to now, the strength of the swordsman Sudong is unquestionable and extremely terrifying. Sudong walked straight to the godly object hall. He walked into a hidden pavilion. The pavilion was filled with the fragrance of incense burners, and Taoist statues were hung. There was a small teleportation array on the desk, and there was a book of divine objects next to it. To exchange divine objects, as long as the Huanquandao fruit or the Samsara fruit was placed in the teleportation array, all the divine objects in the book of divine objects could be exchanged. Innate creatures. Sudong directly turned to the category of the book of divine objects that recorded the seeds of innate creatures. There are only 7 kinds of innate spirit fetuses at the level of divine emperor. Are these 7 kinds divided into gold, wood, water, fire, earth, time, and space? Sudong was startled. Innate spirits, such as Sudong's 5-colored stone clone and some spirits made of divine stones, are of the earth system, while Qiji Huayang's divine sword is of the gold system. No matter how big the difference is, innate spirits of the same category are all similar. Blue Lotus Swordwood Fetus. Thunder God Stone Fetus. 9 Nether Fire Lotus Fetus. Sudong watched carefully, comparing them carefully one by one. The 7 kinds of spirit fetuses, the time and space type are the least, and the grass, wood, divine stone type are the most. Things are precious, because they are rare, and the time and space type is the most expensive. Huangquan Daofu has a very strong foundation, and this is the advantage of being in a big power. Some treasures are simply unimaginable outside, but they can be directly exchanged in Huangquan Daofu. The top level innate creature spirit embryo requires at least 6,000 reincarnation Dao fruits. The many divine objects and treasures required for cultivation are also recorded. The Dao fruits required are even more terrifying. Sudong watched silently. In terms of financial resources, an innate creature clone could not overwhelm him, but he also felt pressure. Naturally, he made a good choice. Chapter 703 9 Nether Fire Lotus Life. I have to choose carefully. I'm cultivating a divine body clone. The combat power does not need to be too strong, but the perception of the Tao must be high, and the comprehension must not be bad. Sudong suffered from the poor comprehension of the 5-colored stone clone. Of course, the 5-colored stone clone was too low at the beginning. The innate life seeds he chose at this moment are all at the top level of the Divine Emperor. It is invaluable. Browse it once. What makes me most excited is the 9 Nether Fire Lotus clone, which can master the 9 Nether Divine Fire. The comprehension of the Tao is also very high. When it grows up, the 9 Nether Divine Fire body is also very strong. The combat power may not be top notch, not as good as Kinglian Jian Mu, but it is better in the high comprehension of the Tao. Sudong did not hesitate, and quickly decided to exchange for this 9 Nether Fire Lotus Spirit Embryo. He picked up the pen on the desk and ticked the 9 Nether Fire Lotus in the Divine Object book. Then the ink mark disappeared. Sudong took out a small bag containing 6,000 reincarnation Dao fruits from the storage bag. At the beginning, Sudong killed a lot in the 2 worlds of the galaxy void and won a lot of reincarnation fruits. Put the fruit of reincarnation into the teleportation array on the desk. But the milky white light flashed in the array and a wave of time and space appeared. Then the fruit of reincarnation disappeared and then appeared again as a cluster of light purple flames. The flames jumped out of thin air like a spirit in the fire. It was in the shape of a lotus. The lotus itself was quite exquisite, and with the jumping of the purple flames, it was even more beautiful. 9 Nether Fire Lotus. Sudong stretched out his hand. The purple fire lotus automatically fell into Sudong's hand. As soon as he got it, a scorching high temperature spread. But Sudong's divine body was so powerful that this temperature had no effect at all. This 9 Nether Fire Lotus has not yet given birth to spiritual intelligence. As long as part of the soul is separated and entered into it, it can easily take over the body. This is the advantage of the innate life seed without spiritual intelligence. It can be easily occupied. This 9 Nether Fire Lotus is his 3rd clone. The exchange is complete. Sudong's heart moved slightly. Then he tried to search for treasures such as Dao Yun fragments. But in the end, he shook his head helplessly. Dao Yun fragments are too precious. Once they appear, they will definitely be snatched, merged, and swallowed by the strong. It is impossible for them to appear here. He also exchanged some treasures needed for the early growth of the 9 Nether Fire Lotus. As for the treasures that break through the Holy Spirit, a total of 13 kinds are needed. The Divine Item Hall can only exchange 3 kinds, and the remaining 10 kinds are scarce. However, although they are scarce, they are not too precious. They just need to be found in some special areas of the void. I'm going down the mountain soon, and I have plenty of time to find them. Then Sudong left. Back in the cave, Sudong's palm appeared in the palm of his hand, and the core data space will was separated from a part. The huge will was easily immersed in the 9 Nether Fire Lotus. How powerful is Sudong's will now? His will has taken shape. Not to mention that the 9 Nether Fire Lotus has not given birth to spiritual intelligence. Even if it has given birth to spiritual intelligence, it can be easily erased. The core data space will entered the life of the 9 Nether Fire Lotus and took over everything in an instant. Innate origin memories came one after another. Many innate magical powers were also inherited and manifested in Sudong's will. Sudong's super touched divine body threw out many spiritual objects, and the purple flames in the lotus form of the 9 Nether Fire Lotus life avatar suddenly surged, swallowing and refining all those spiritual objects. But the purple flame light completely enveloped the 9 Nether Fire Lotus life, but Sudong's will was sensing everything. The flame enveloped and formed a purple cocoon, and then the cocoon slowly began to crack. The purple flame light cocoon slowly broke apart, and then clusters of jumping purple flames spread throughout the cave. The scorching high temperature was like a sea of magma. In the center of the flame, an extremely beautiful purple fire lotus slowly bloomed, which was extremely strange. The lotus petals were layered, and each petal was as crystal clear as amethyst. At the same time, the purple fire lotus contained a divinity that soared into the sky. The purple fire was jumping and completely integrated into the unique lotus seed in the fire lotus. This lotus seed was the real 9 Nether Fire Lotus life. Transform. Sudong's will move slightly. Wow. The beautiful purple flames rose up and quickly enveloped the lotus seeds. Then the fire lotus quickly grew larger. A tall and strong figure appeared in the center of the lotus. The flames enveloped the divine body. Naturally, it condensed into a white robe with beautiful purple flame patterns on the surface. It's done. Sudong's 9 Nether Fire Lotus Life avatar looked down at his divine body. The 9 Nether Fire Lotus Life avatar had fair skin. His body and bones were thinner. He had 3 divine bodies. The 5 color stone avatar evolved into the Black Mountain Flowing Wave divine body. The normal divine body alone was nearly 1,000 feet tall, which was undoubtedly the largest, and the Super Tush divine body. Although he cultivated the ultimate king body, the normal divine body always remained around 2 meters. The 9 Nether Fire Lotus Avatar Life Avatar was the shortest, only less than 1.8 meters. His skin was fair and his face was thinner. Although he looked like Sudong, he was softer and more handsome. There was a purple lotus flame mark on his forehead. Just after birth, his divine power was at the level of the Divine King. It was indeed the top bloodline of the Divine Emperor. Sudong's will sighed. It is much stronger than his original 5-colored stone clone, and also stronger than Tuoshi's divine body. This book was recently updated in Update. There are 3 more kinds of innate magical powers. The first one is the 9 Nether Divine Fire. The power of the 9 Nether Divine Fire is divided into 6 levels. The lowest is the power of the Divine King level, and the highest is the power of the Holy Spirit level. As long as the life of the Divine Emperor and the Immortal Emperor grows up, even if it does not break through to the Holy Spirit, the divine fire of the innate magical power alone can reach the Holy Spirit level, which is enough to defy the heavens. The second one is the Void Fire Lotus. The entire divine body turns into an invisible void flame lotus, combined with space. As long as the space is not destroyed, it is difficult to be killed. It is considered a first-class life-saving talent. The third one is Nirvana, a talent that is actively activated when the 9 Nether Fire Lotus is in a life and death crisis. Once activated, there is a 50% chance of death, but the other half is a breakthrough in power, and all aspects of the divine body life will skyrocket. 3 kinds of talents. They are all gifted by the innate origin, and they do not need to be cultivated to possess them. They have means of attack, means of life saving, and means of turning a bicycle into a motorcycle by risking one's life. It is outrageous in all aspects. It is said that the top bloodline of the God Emperor and the Immortal Emperor is precious and invincible. It is really too cheap. Sudong sighed. It is no wonder that the big forces are chasing after them. It is really too against the will of heaven. Just like these innate creatures, even if they have not bred life intelligence, once they are discovered, the big forces will collect them and control them. Not to mention the big forces, even a small clan. They all know that they have to fight for the embryos of innate creatures. There is no way. They are blessed by nature, and as long as they grow up, they are destined to be monsters. In addition to the innate magical powers, there are also inheritance methods. Among the methods, there are hundreds of attack methods, dozens of body protection methods, thousands of body methods, and dozens of divine body methods. Sudong sighed. Against the will of heaven, to against the will of heaven. Of course. According to the inheritance method, we can also know the cultivation path taken by the 9 Nether Fire Lotus life from generation to generation. There are more than 1,000 body movement methods, and it is obvious that the 9 Nether Fire Lotus life from generation to generation all follow the body movement method. Then there is the attack method. The 9 Nether Fire Lotus life itself has mastered the extremely offensive 9 Nether Divine Fire. Combined with the attack method and magic, the power is even more powerful. Sudong browsed silently. Even though he was at a very high level, he felt that his eyes were opened at this moment. The love of heaven and earth. This is the love of heaven and earth. It's too unfair. Chapter 704. Unique. In terms of foundation and birth height, the innate creatures at the level of the Divine Emperor and the ordinary innate creatures are completely different from each other. The former has a very high starting point. Because the starting point is high, the magic skills are also high. Among the thousands of magic skills suitable for the 9 Nether Fire Lotus life to practice, there are 3 top magic skills, namely 3000 Lotus Leaves, Divine Fire Wings, and Lotus World. Sudong's will space instantly browsed through it, selected the 3 inherited magic skills that are most suitable for the 9 Nether Fire Lotus life to practice. In fact, the same will, the body skills are shared, and can be used together. For example, Sudong's Super Tush God body has a strong body skill, and the 9 Nether Fire Lotus life is of course strong, but no matter how strong it is, If it is not the most suitable for oneself, the effect is just so-so. So since you have the inherited magic skills, you must learn and master them. The Xian Luo Wang Xiang body skills that the Super Tush God body comprehends can be used to the extreme by the Super Tush God body because it is created and comprehended by oneself and is most suitable for the Tush God body. The same. The 9 Nether Fire Lotus Life, the body skills passed down from generation to generation by strong men. Fully mastered, the effect is better than the Xian Luo Wang Xiang body skill. Moreover, Sudan himself has a strong will, a very high realm, and a mastery of body skills. The 3 inheritance methods are all high level and can be practiced at the same time. This is the perfect solution. Generation after generation of 9 Nether Fire Lotus Life all choose to follow the body skills flow, obviously not without reason. 9 Nether Fire Lotus Life is very suitable for this path. The next is the body protection method. The attack method. For the body protection method, choose Lotus Transformation, and for the attack method, choose Divine Fire 10,000 Tribulations Finger. These 2 methods are also the top 2 of the inheritance methods. The body protection method Lotus Transformation requires the consumption of many spiritual objects. However, with Sudong's wealth, it is naturally nothing. Now devour the spiritual objects and improve the realm. Sudong's 9 Nether Lotus clone body sat cross-legged and clusters of purple flames burned around him. Many spiritual objects that the 9 Nether Fire Lotus Life had been upgraded to were already thrown into the core data space. Boom. The aura of the 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body suddenly surged, and the space around it completely turned into a world of purple flames, with flames rising. The most peculiar thing was that there were twisted purple Dao fires surrounding it. Sudong's Super Tush divine body, the core data will, could all feel the divinity and Dao essence in the divine fire. The 9 Nether Fire Lotus Life is born with an extremely keen sense of the Dao essence of the Dao of fire, and is born to master the divine fire. The more acute the perception of the Dao is, after achieving the Holy Spirit, the more Dao essence is added to the body, the higher the probability of condensing the Dao God pill. Under the control of Sudong's core data will, the 9 Nether Fire Lotus clone spent half an hour to completely devour and refine the 3 spiritual objects, and successfully raised its realm to the level of the Divine Emperor Immortal Emperor. 9 Nether Divine Fire. The 9 Nether Fire Lotus Life clone opened his eyes, and his eyes, that seemed to be burning with a faint purple flame, looked a little evil. He opened his mouth slightly, and a purple flame spewed out towards the Super Tush divine body beside him. The exploding purple flame column was powerful and fierce. Sudong's Super Tush divine body smiled, casually raised his hand, and directly grasped the purple flame column with his powerful palm. Puff. Directly crushed the flame. Awesome. At the level of Divine Emperor, the 9 Nether Divine Fire itself has reached the power of the Holy Spirit level. Sudong sensed the power of the flame, and couldn't help but admire it. The biggest advantage of innate creatures is here. They don't need to practice. They can accelerate their growth by swallowing and refining treasures. Their innate magical powers are against the sky. Even if they can't become a Holy Spirit, they can master the power of the Holy Spirit level. Of course. This is also related to the extremely high quality of the 3 treasures that Sudong used to sacrifice the 9 Nether Fire Lotus. One of them, the Divine Fire Pill, has a miraculous effect on improving the power of the Divine Fire, a divine spirit of the flame, born to master the 9 Nether Divine Fire. This is the most unique thing about the 9 Nether Fire Lotus. People who practice Taoism have achieved success in their cultivation. The Samadhi True Fire, the 6 Desires Demon Fire, the 9 Heavens Thunder Fire, are also considered powerful. But the ones that are naturally born in the void and contain fragments of the flame Dao are considered the supreme divine fire. According to legend, there are several kinds of astonishing divine fire in the endless void. This includes the 9 Nether Divine Fire. It is said to be born in the deepest part of the endless void and is famous for its weirdness. Sudong chose the 9 Nether Fire Lotus Life clone because he was attracted by the 9 Nether Divine Fire. There are many strong people who cultivate clones because they are attracted by the innate magical powers of innate creatures. The value of the top innate creatures is too high, and it can only be sold internally in Huanquan Daofu, one of the 4 major forces in the endless void. It cannot be spread to the outside world. The perception of the 9 Nether Fire Lotus clone in the way of fire is far greater than my understanding of the sword after the super touch divine body strengthened the talent of understanding. Sudong said secretly. In the eyes of the 9 Nether Fire Lotus clone, you can easily see the crisscrossing flame patterns between heaven and earth. To comprehend the essence of the Tao, other lives need to ponder and study, but the 9 Nether Fire Lotus clone can just imitate it. To evil. The foundation has been established. Although I lack 10 spiritual objects, to become a holy spirit, my core data space will clone is based on the core data space. Both of my 2 divine bodies are holy spirits. There are no shackles, and I can break through now. A normal breakthrough requires treasures to improve efficiency, but just activating the life of a clone can naturally improve it directly. It's just that the divine power will be flawed, and it will be compensated by refining treasures in the future. Before the breakthrough, I will improve the level of my divine body. To condense the Dao Shendan, the divine body is very important. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. Without hesitation, I opened the Infinite Divine Blood Evolution application and used the Super Touch Divine Body as a template. Perform Fusion Evolution. Evolve. In the Infinite Divine Blood Evolution application, a drop of golden divine blood emitting great power merged with a drop of divine blood burning with purple flames. Then they merged and evolved into a drop of purple gold divine blood, which sank into the 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body and immediately spread to all parts of the body. The 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body sat cross-legged there, and the space behind it was burning with twisted purple flames, and thousands of purple flames burst out. How high is the level of Sudong's Super Touch divine body? First, he merged and evolved the Black Mountain Flowing Wave divine body and blood of the 5-colored stone clone, and then he broke through the divine blood tower, and learned the soul-devouring demon sealing ultimate king body method. Such a fusion evolution can only be carried out by the 9 Nether Fire Lotus, a top-level innate creature at the level of the Divine Emperor. But it has reached the limit of the evolution gap. Boom. The terrifying purple flames formed a sea of fire, and the sky and the earth changed color. Then the 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body suddenly absorbed all the purple flames into the divine body. Everything returned to calm. The brilliant blood starlight intertwined with a strange purple divine fire and reflected above the 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body. The divine body successfully broke through. Just one last step. Break through to become a saint. Sudong's core will move slightly. Instantly, the Dao essence was added to his body. Buzz, or 3-inch golden light fell from the top of his head and directly sank into the body of the 9 Nether Fire Lotus. Mist rose around him, and the Dao essence formed a robe of the great Dao. The entire life level of the 9 Nether Fire Lotus began to transform. The feeling of breaking through to become a holy spirit is very special. It is similar to a kind of awakening, allowing oneself to be sublimated and gain higher authority. The Dao essence is added to the body, and it becomes a law. The law of the 9 Nether Fire Lotus is life is fire. The purple 9 Nether God fire turned into purple lotus flowers floating in the space, which was magnificent. However, Sudong's core data space will was completely concentrated in the 9 Nether Fire Lotus's life Dantian. It must be done. Thanks to the book friend 42682 boss for the reward. ********** Chapter 705 Star System. Sudong watched nervously. Whether the clone can condense the Dao Shendan is the key among the keys. It is also the ultimate goal of his cultivation of the clone. It must succeed. If it fails, then the efficiency of his next sacrifice of the Dao Shendan is destined to be much slower. Under the supervision of the core will, the 9 Nether Fire Lotus Dantian is full of purple divine fire burning at a glance, and rivers of Dao Yun float above the endless divine fire. The divine light of Dao Yun is brilliant, completely reflecting the entire Dantian, a brilliant scene. Why hasn't it condensed yet? Sudong was anxious. Breaking through to this moment, it should be possible to condense the Dao Shendan. Is it a coincidence that my 2 major divine bodies condensed into Dao Shendan after the breakthrough? The Huangquan Dao Mansion records that Dao Shendan is loved by heaven and earth, and there is a chance to give it. The chance of Dao Shendan appearing after a breakthrough is pitifully small, but his 2 major divine bodies broke through at the same time and condensed Dao Shendan at the same time. If it is a coincidence, this is too coincidental. Why did I forget? Sudong couldn't help but slap his forehead. Then a huge will descended, and the transformed will fell into the Dantian, condensing a golden light in the Dantian, and turning into a mobile phone carrier. Sudong had mobile phone carriers in both of the two divine bodies before, but the 9 Nether Fire Lotus life did not. Besides, his star map was in the mobile phone carrier, so how could it be missing? The mobile phone condensed in the Dantian. The pure and majestic Daoyun River rolled down and poured down, filling the entire Dantian space of the 9 Nether Fire Lotus life in an instant. The moment the mobile phone was completely wrapped, some special programs in the mobile phone began to run silently, and a golden light burst out from the screen. It shuttled in the Daoyun River. Then, a dazzling light almost the size of a grain of rice illuminated the entire Daoyun River, and also illuminated Sudong's core data will. It's done. Haha. Sudong's eyes lit up. The moment he saw the light, he laughed. His 3 divine bodies smiled at the same time. The mobile phone in the Dantian emits golden light, condensed into a Dao Shendan, so this is how it is. Sudong truly understood at this moment. The last time he broke through, the Daoyun River completely submerged the phone, and Sudong did not notice the golden light. After all, when he broke through, the divine light was brilliant, and the rays of light were endless. What was a golden light? It was not noticeable at all. At this moment, Sudong really understood. The key is still on the phone in the Dantian. Sudong's will was full of smiles. However, he looked at the tiny Dao Shendan in the Dantian and shook his head. It's just that this Dao Shendan is too small. It was only the size of a grain of rice. The Super Tuosh divine body was the size of a thumb, and the 5 color stone clone was only a little smaller and dimmer. The 9 Nether Fire Lotus clone was extremely small, and of course, it was dimmer. It's because the foundation is too poor. Sudong understood. For the purpose of experimentation, he forcibly used the core data space will to fill the realm. It directly caused the 9 Nether Fire Lotus life to break through the Holy Spirit. Although the divine body was improved as much as possible in all aspects, the essential foundation was too poor after all. In the future, I will find the treasures needed for the 9 Nether Fire Lotus life breakthrough. I also need to comprehend more about the divine fire. The more Dao essence is added to the body, the higher the quality of the Dao Shendan will be. This is a key point. Try to burn the Dao essence to sacrifice the Dao Shendan. Sudong's will move slightly. Boom. The 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body operated the basic method of the Dao Shendan, and suddenly sections of the Dao essence river broke and burned out of thin air. Only Sudong, who relied on the core data space will to have many clones, would be willing to destroy his foundation like this. If it were another Holy Spirit, because it was a Holy Spirit level clone cultivated at a great cost, by splitting off part of the primordial spirit and soul, it would be even more precious. After all, splitting off the primordial spirit and soul is self-destructive. It also costs a lot to restore the clone. I saw the Dao Essence River burning and rising. The divine clouds were thousands of feet high, refining the rice-sized Dao Shendan, and then like water waves, it sank into the star map on the mobile phone screen. The star map was dazzling and bright, and all gathered into the 8th star. Burn for a moment. Sudong stopped burning when the Daoyun River was burning for 2/5, close to 1/2. The Holy Spirit aura on the 9 Nether Fire Lotus clone who had just broken through to sainthood became extremely weak, and his handsome and gentle face became even paler. If it burns anymore, it will fall below the Holy Spirit level. Sudong grinned. Burning 2/5 of the Daoyun and lighting up the stars is not as efficient as the Super Tush divine body burning 1/10 of the Daoyun. The quality of the Dao Shendan is too poor. Wow. Will left the Dantian. The 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body turned into a purple fire lotus, which floated up and then sank into the core data space of Sudong's Super Tush divine body. The core data space transformed and could completely accommodate the divine body. The 9 Nether Fire Lotus clone has great potential, but I was in a hurry to try it, so the foundation was rough. Sudong smiled. After filling the foundation in the future, the 9 Nether Fire Lotus clone will naturally become a huge help. Happy, excited. The success of this experiment shows that the clone path is correct and feasible. But the price is not small. I exchanged the 9 nether fire lotus clone spirit fetus and many spiritual objects from the Deo mansion. The wealth consumed is almost 1/6 of my current wealth. Wealth is nothing, the key is the foundation. If the foundation is too poor, the 9 nether fire lotus, which is a cramming style improvement, will not help much. This book has been updated recently in update. It's easy to say that Sudang has to comprehend the Tao himself. Every individual life, even the same human race, the efficiency of comprehending the Tao is different. If you want the quality of the Tao God pill to be higher, the Tao of many clones must also reach a very high level. This is the difficulty. Take your time, the road has been found. What's a little difficulty? Sudang smiled. Time. He has enough. Patience is more than enough. From a small ordinary boy to now, if he was impatient, he would not have reached this step. One step at a time, one step forward, this is his path. The fragments of Deo Yun also need to be carefully searched. If the star map lights up the 8th star, not to mention the transformation again, just moving the 8th star into the star system can also improve the power of the star. Sudang named this way of cultivation the star system. Now, Sudang's mind is on the star system and the power of the stars. The power of the stars and the star map are the top priorities. If you want to light up the stars, the realm of Deo and Deo Shendan are even more important. Holy Spirit Path. I'm only in the Deo initial realm now. If I break through to the Deo Zuan realm, the quality of Deo Shendan will be further improved. Sudang thought silently. Now he has 3 major divine bodies. The 5 color stone clone has too poor comprehension, and his comprehension of Deo is almost stagnant. The super touch divine body's comprehension of Deo is top notch. The 9 nether fire lotus clone, as I have just experienced, is completely a demon in the way of fire. The Deo is important. Techniques cannot be neglected either. I only have one will. If I divide my attention and use it for many purposes, the will be burdened. If I want to be too greedy, my efficiency will be greatly reduced. Clone. I will cultivate another clone after I reach my realm and break through to the Deoxuan realm. Sudang decided. In the Shanhei realm, after the Deofu competition, things returned to peace again. Even the Shuriking of the Yama Palace could not have thought that just after the Deofu competition ended, Sudang's strength would have increased exponentially. The only thing he knew was that Fihang Shuriking taught him about his body movements. Sudang's body movements must have improved a lot. Time flies. Sudang, guarding the void is different from practicing in the mountains. Practicing in the mountains, resources are evenly distributed, and no one disobeys. Guarding the void, if you have any treasures and merits, you get them, and if you don't, they belong to others, so there are bound to be many more fights. With more disputes, there will be factions, openly or secretly, and there is no reason to be defeated. You must be extremely careful. King Yama warned Sudang, who came to the heavenly palace to say goodbye. Yes. Sudang replied respectfully. He returned to the cave and left the divine clone in the cave. The divine clone was just an ordinary void god. Then Sudang took the goddess Mingjing and sacrificed the spring and autumn boat. It's time to go down the mountain. Using the spring and autumn as a boat, he traveled in the sea of void. Sudang controlled the spring and autumn boat and easily broke through the barrier of the mountain and sea boundary and instantly disappeared outside the vast void. The end of this volume. Chapter 706 is coming. The spring and autumn boat penetrated the void barrier. Sudang and the goddess Mingjing sat on the pavilion in the boat and watched the vast mountain and sea world void quickly turn into a phantom. The normal speed of the flying divine object shuttling through the void is only a step faster than my body movement. Sudang said secretly. It's not that he flies slowly, but that he is too fast. His body movement attainments are comparable to the level of the 10 crown Shuriking. The normal flying speed of the flying divine object is fast, but it is only limited faster than his. However, this is the normal speed, and there is also the burst speed. The burst speed of the flying divine object is several times higher, and of course the consumption is also terrifying, and the duration is extremely short. After the burst, it can no longer fly for a long time. The flying divine object focuses on its effectiveness. It is much more labor saving to urge the flying divine object to fly than to rely on its own flight. the value of the flying divine object that has been traveling in the endless void and traversing the void is revealed. If we only talk about the speed, there is also a limit, and it is not necessarily exaggerated. For example, the shurikens such as the 6 Tiger Shuriken, the Yama Palace Shuriken, and the Fihang Shuriken have reached a certain extreme in their body movement. The speed itself is ridiculously fast, and the divine body is also ridiculously powerful. It is natural that when traveling through the void, it is rare to control flying divine objects. Controlling flying divine objects is too slow. As for the bull-headed shuriken, he is not qualified to own flying divine objects, and can only fly on his own. Watching the outside world passing through the void, Sudang retracted his gaze. With the sensing of the 5-colored stone clone, we can easily sense the distance between each other. The distance is rapidly shortening, and this speed is not slow. The spring and autumn boat is best at defense, and is most suitable for exploring some dangerous places. It is not just about pursuing speed. When the bull-headed shuriken passed through many voids, I was shocked, and felt that time was short. Moreover, before going to the void of the mountain and sea realm, he had already reached the dojo of the shuriken of the Byanji Palace. At that time, the bull-headed shuriken quickly arrived at the mountain and sea realm. The bull-headed shuriken is a 12-crown shuriken, and the lord of the mansion is a 13-crown shuriken. In terms of flying speed, none of them is slow. Now, with a sense, even if the distance is far, the spring and autumn boat moves forward, and the distance it crosses with each breath is extremely terrifying. At this speed, it will take about half a day to reach the medieval void. Sudang sat cross-legged silently. But in the core data space, the purple flame lotus turned into the 9 nether fire lotus life, and a cluster of strange 9 nether god fire swayed between the eyebrows, which looked even more strange. Sudang divided half of his will to comprehend the sword method, and the other half to comprehend the fire method. The 9 nether fire lotus life's understanding of the fire method was too evil. Sudang's core data will could even clearly feel his progress in the fire method. Sudang was immersed in cultivation. The goddess Mingjing was slightly excited when she looked at the outside world. Although she was at the level of the god emperor, she had been practicing in Buzhao Mountain. Now it was the first time she left the mountain and sea world void and saw the outside world. That is the Kanghae void. She saw the spring and autumn boat passing through a void completely covered by the sea. The void was extremely beautiful. There was sea everywhere in the void, and life was also in the sea. In the past, I had only heard about it, but now I saw it for the first time. Except for the King Shura, everyone else in Buzhao Mountain was ordinary. She was originally an ordinary person in Buzhao Mountain. She embarked on the path of cultivation because of a special opportunity. Her aptitude was average, but she was diligent. After a long time of hard work, she became a divine emperor. However, her talent was destined to be extremely difficult to become a saint, and Huang Quandeofu would not give her some treasures casually. Following the shuriken of Yama Palace was very inconspicuous. It was given to Sudang by the shuriken of Yama Palace, so that she could follow Sudang and leave Buzhao Mountain. Being able to follow a genius like Sudang, Goddess Mingjing was naturally happy and proud. The master is practicing again. Goddess Mingjing saw Sudang sitting cross-legged next to her. In the past, the master rarely practiced in front of me. She glanced at him carefully. Sudang was used to practicing swordsmanship, body skills, and Taoism in the eternal space, so she naturally couldn't see it. Master has become the first shuriken in the Dao Mansion competition. It is said that the master now has the strength of an 8-crown shuriken, but I have never seen the master rest or play. The goddess Mingjing watched silently. She did not dare to make any sound to disturb him. Others said that the master had extraordinary talent, but she knew that the energy the master spent on cultivation was definitely not comparable to that of an ordinary shuriken. 9 Nether Divine Fire. The divine fire is extremely pure and can transform the void into the solid. A purple fire lotus was suspended in front of Sudang's 9 Nether Fire Lotus clone, and the fire lotus was entangled with wisps of light purple flames and kept circling. The mystery of the heavenly Dao is contained in the rotation process. That is the most essential flame avenue. But the 9 Nether Fire Lotus life perceives the flame and feels the continuous improvement of the Dao Yun, which is itself a joyful thing, which can make cultivation become extremely joyful. This is the premise of obsession. 9 Nether Divine Fire is already the highest level given by the Heavenly Dao, but as my perception deepens, the level of Dao Yun will be further improved, and the power of the Divine Fire will become more and more powerful. It was directly given before. Now we need to comprehend it. The essence of the 9 Nether Fire Lotus is a 9 Nether Divine Fire, and what we practice is a 9 Nether Divine Fire. Some 9 Nether Fire Lotus lives grow for 1,000 years, and the power of the 9 Nether Divine Fire reaches a level of the Holy Spirit, which is the limit. But further, the power of the 9 Nether Divine Fire can still increase. This book has been updated recently in update. The power of the 9 Nether Divine Fire increases 10 to 20 times, which is the Daochu realm. Increased 20 to 40 times, it is the Daozuan realm. The higher it increases, the more terrifying the power of the 9 Nether Divine Fire will be. The life of the 9 Nether Fire Lotus is very pure, so it cultivates the 9 Nether Divine Fire. Improve it, it can increase the 9 Nether Divine Fire by 20 times, which is the limit of the Daochu realm. The power can be comparable to the top of the 9th level of my Shian Wei Shian sword technique. Increase it to 30 times, it is the power of the Demon Prison Blood Kill. That is the Daozuan realm. Sudang has not mastered the Demon Prison Blood Kill sword technique perfectly. No matter how talented he is, it is extremely difficult for him to master the complete 10th level of the Demon Prison Blood Kill sword technique in the Daochu realm. Sudang was practicing in the spring and autumn boat. A golden cloud was floating in a broken nebula outside the void of the mountain and sea realm. A cold figure stood on the cloud. I have received the news. Sudang must come here today. Guarding the void is the rule of the Taoist palace, and he dare not cross it. Pingshan Shuriking waited silently. He also thought that maybe Sudang would come early, so he came here to wait early, but he waited until today, and today was the deadline. Pingshan Shuriking had some connections in the Taoist palace, so it was easy for him to investigate Sudang's whereabouts. Yes, as long as Sudang came to the void of the Middle Ages, the entire void would know. If he didn't come, he would just wait silently. This Sudang Shuriking rose so quickly, he must have a lot of treasures on him, and he must have a lot of protective magic weapons given by the Shuriking of the Yama Palace. To kill him, it is a bit difficult to use the Demon King puppet alone. But if I take action in my real body, once the Taoist Palace knows about it, it will be over. Take action against Shuriking in my real body? The Daofu found out that the Shuriking of Yama Palace might kill him himself. At most, we can use puppets to deal with him for an Emperor's divine bill. There is no need to take big risks. Pingshan Shuriking thought his real body would be in a palace. The palace turned into the size of gravel and was carried by the Demon King puppet. Suddenly, a stream of light flashed in the void in front of him. The speed of the stream of light was extremely fast, and it instantly penetrated the void. Only a wooden boat could be seen faintly in the stream of light. Here, Pingshan Shuriking was refreshed. May the warrior's faith last forever. May the mountains and rivers of the motherland be safe, and may the deceased rest in peace. 2020 4. Chapter 707, The Robbery on Sudang. Seeing the wooden boat in the stream of light, a flying divine wooden boat, so luxurious, it must be Sudang. Pingshan Shuriking did not dare to hesitate. His real body directly entered the palace, and a terrifying monster appeared on the golden cloud. The monster had a black tiger head that was ferocious and terrifying, with wings behind it, and 6 arms in front of it. Each of the 6 arms held a huge axe. A pair of cold eyes full of bloodthirsty sharpness looked forward. Pingshan Shuriking's real body was also amazed. A flying divine object. How many ordinary holy spirits can have a flying divine object? The golden cloud under his feet is a flying divine object named Jin Shanan. At the beginning, he and a holy spirit Zuzu discovered it at the same time and killed the holy spirit directly to take it. It can be regarded as his opportunity. He is the 13 crown Shuriking who has killed countless people openly and secretly and robbed many treasures, and only now has a flying divine object. It can be seen that the flying divine object is precious. Who else can appear at this time, if not Sudang? He chose a flying artifact as a reward for the Dao Mansion competition, which is this spring and autumn boat. Pingshan Shuriking envied it, but it was just envy, and he had no intention of snatching it. Flying artifacts are born naturally, and once they recognize their master, they will be extremely loyal. If the master dies, the flying artifact will also be destroyed. This is also the preciousness of flying artifacts. The flying boat was so fast that it flew to the periphery of the void in the Middle Ages in the blink of an eye. Die. The monster on the golden cloud attacked instantly, and 6 hideous arms swung 6 giant axes at the same time. Rumble. Suddenly, terrifying black winds floated around the periphery of the void. The low whistling sound of the black wind oppressed the void and made the void tremble. The face of the goddess Mingjing in the spring and autumn boat changed. She looked outside the flying boat pavilion in horror. Sudong also opened his eyes. They saw the terrifying monster first. The monster's body was nearly 1,000 feet long, and the monster spirit lore covered the surroundings, affecting and covering everything. A monster at the level of the Holy Spirit, a monster that specializes in plundering. Sudong's heart moved. There are many powerful people at the Holy Spirit level floating in the void. Some of them specialize in plundering. It is normal for monsters to rob people. Master. The goddess Mingjing looked at Sudong nervously. The monster swung the giant axe, and 6 black winds covered the sky and the sun. The scene was too terrifying. It's okay. Sudong said. Boom. The 6 black wind axes slashed hard on the spring and autumn boat. The surface of the spring and autumn boat gathered. Even the stream of light did not tremble at all. What? Pingshan Shuriking, who was hiding in the palace and controlling the monster puppet, changed his face. He expected this monster puppet to kill Sudong directly, but it didn't even split the stream of light on the surface of the wooden boat. This magical wooden boat is good at defense? That monster, the attack power should have reached the 7th level. Sudong's face was calm, not worried at all. The spring and autumn boat is good at defense. It would be ridiculous if it couldn't even withstand the attack that just reached the 7th level of power. When the goddess Mingjing saw the giant axe coming down, the spring and autumn boat didn't even tremble. Only then did she breathe a sigh of relief. A monster, still thinking of robbing me? Sudong sneered. Then he stood up. He flew directly out of the spring and autumn boat. It's over. It's over. This Sudong actually has such a flying divine object. How can I kill him? Pingshan Shuriking was anxious. To rob and kill, you have to have hope to kill. The defense of this wooden boat is too terrifying. He knows very well how terrifying the power of the 6 giant axes of his monster puppet is. It has completely reached the threshold of the 10 crown Shuriking. The attack power of the 10 crown Shuriking is only 1 level lower than his real body. He can become the 13 crown Shuriking and pass the ranking battle by relying on his own innate magical powers. The attack power is just average. How to kill? It came out. Pingshan Shuriking was still anxious, and suddenly his eyes lit up again. The high-speed flying wooden boat suddenly stopped, and a figure flew out of it. The figure was wearing a white robe and looked at him coldly. Haha, how arrogant. This Sudong dared to come out. Pingshan Shuriking hiding in the palace laughed. Hiding in the spring and autumn boat and leaving at high speed. He really had no choice. But Sudong actually took the initiative to come out. That was to seek death. The real body laughed. The monster puppet was even more bloodthirsty and crazy. Hand over your treasure. The puppet roared. Completely disguised as a normal looting monster. Hand over the treasure. You can still survive. The monster shouted. Ridiculous. Sudong was suspended in the airflow of the void, looking at the monster coldly. The goddess Mingjing was frightened, and her face turned pale. She didn't expect that her master would take the initiative to fly out. Her master's strength is strong, and he won the first place in the Daofu competition, but that was among the 5 crown Shuriking. The monster in front of him was too terrifying, far surpassing the 5 crown Shuriking, and the endless fierce power that spread made him feel trembling. Master. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. Are you saying I'm ridiculous? The huge monster standing on the golden cloud opened its bloody mouth, with sharp teeth arranged in a staggered pattern, and possessed a strange power, as if it could tear the world apart. The monster waved its 6 arms again, and the 6 giant axes swung at the same time, and the black wind swept and roared towards Sudong. Sudong stood in the airflow of the void and waved his hand. The purgatory divine sword in his hand was unsheathed. The power of the stars was mobilized. Wow. A blade of light flashed like starlight, and it was extremely sharp, piercing through everything. Piercing style. Puff. The dazzling blade light and the terrifying power of the 6 giant axes collided instantly. The black wind trembled, and the 6 giant axes were split by the blade light at the same time. The power of the blade light strangely passed through the giant axe and directly transmitted to the monster's 6 arms and huge monster body. Bang bang bang. 3 of the 6 arms exploded instantly. How can his divine power be so strong? Pingshan Shuriken, hid in the palace. He had also seen Sudong's peak match. His divine power burst was only level 6, but that wasn't burst. How could this casual strike have a power exceeding level 6? Although that was in the peak match, this was a life and death fight, and Sudong was equipped with a lot of divine weapons. The Purgatory Divine Sword was even more of a top divine sword, so it was normal for the divine power to differ, but this difference was too big. The power was strong, and it was entirely because Sudong had integrated the divine power of the stars into it. There are 2 ways to use the divine power of the stars. One is to use it in combination with ordinary divine power, which can increase the power several times and last for a long time. The other is to use all the divine power of the stars, which greatly increases the power, but the speed at which the divine power is consumed also increases dramatically. Piercing style, only destroying 3 of its arms. The monster body is tough enough. Sudong smiled. Then the sword light flashed again. The 9th level of the Xian Wei Xian sword technique. Boom. Sudong's infernal sword was so fast that it was blurry. He swung it out. This sword was extremely fast and powerful. The huge sword light passed through the void and almost instantly arrived in front of the monster. There were more brilliant stars on the sword light, illuminating the world. Heavenly sword technique. Block it. Pingshan Shuriken recognized the sword and hurriedly tried his best to control the monster puppet to resist. But the monster puppet originally had 6 arms to resist, but now there were only 3 left, and only 3 giant axes. It couldn't be blocked at all. Puff. The sword tore the monster's body apart. Dead. Pingshan Shuriken looked ugly. The monster puppet comparable to the 10 crown Shuriken died just like that. The palace he was in was only the size of gravel and fell on the Jinshan cloud. The Jinshan cloud was his flying magic object. At this moment, he also deliberately urged it to slowly dissipate. A looting monster, without even a decent magic weapon, no protective treasure, and even a crude method. Sudong sneered. He clenched his palms forward, and the law of the Holy Spirit instantly spread over, suppressing everything, but a grain of sand and a dissipated golden cloud remained in place. The laws of the Holy Spirit collided with each other. Whoosh! A tall figure appeared directly, and at the same time a green light shield appeared directly, covering the surrounding void for thousands of miles, isolating all detection and communication. Even the flying speed was terribly slow. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 708, Battle Against the Heavenly Shuriken. The golden cloud solidified again, and a tiny palace quickly grew larger, becoming as majestic as a mountain, with brilliant golden light shining for thousands of miles. The boundless green light shield was also centered on this palace, covering thousands of miles. Then a tall figure walked out of the palace. He looked at Sudong with a smile on his face. Sudong Shuriken, is it you? Sudong stood in the void, looking coldly at the figure in front of him. The latter was wearing a bright yellow robe, a golden crown on his head, and his eyes were flashing with a faint golden light, as if an eagle was looking at its prey. Although he had never seen this figure, he had been in Buzzhow Mountain for a long time, and he knew some Shurikens more or less. Pingshan Shuriken. The pressure on Pingshan Shuriken was very strong, so strong that the surrounding space was creaking under the pressure. It's me. Pingshan Shuriken still had a smile on his face. He clasped his fists and saluted. I didn't know it was Sudong Shuriken before, and thought it was an enemy of mine. It was a misunderstanding. I hope Sudong Shuriken will not blame me. Controlling the monster puppet to kill me, and you said it was a misunderstanding? Sudong shook his head. I just didn't expect that you would kill me for an emperor's divine pill. I really don't know whether to say you are brave or stupid. Huang Fu strictly prohibits killing. Once it is discovered that shurikens are killing each other, it is a great sin. It's a misunderstanding. Pingshan Shuriken said. He said this, but his heart was filled with murderous intent. When things got to this point, he also used the secret treasure to cover up the investigation. This green light shield is one of the many secret treasures he used to kill people and rob. The purpose is naturally to kill Sudang. This Sudang is too talented. I have already made an enemy of him today. If he is allowed to grow up, that will be a big trouble. It is destined to be a strong enemy. It is better to nip the danger in the bud. Give up everything and kill Sudang. Since everything is covered up, let's do it. Sudang was too lazy to say more, and the long sword of purgatory in his hand blurred instantly. A blade of light had already slashed out. This Pingshan Shuriken was born as a monster, and he had committed a great sin of killing. Later, I don't know how he covered up the sinful aura on his body and entered the Yellow Spring Deo mansion, but he was bloodthirsty, which was integrated into his bones and could not be changed. Today, he was robbed of killing. Then let's fight. He is the 13 Crown Shuriken. This is the first time I have fought with the 13 Crown Shuriken. He drew his sword, and the power of the gods merged with the power of the stars. It was also the 9th level of the Cheyenne Waishan sword technique. Boom. The sword flashed and burst out. You were the first to attack. Pingshan Shuriken laughed even more. Sudang, you are extraordinary, but you are too young to fight with me. Pingshan Shuriken waved his hand, and the palm of his hand shone with golden light, as if a golden eagle opened its claws, and directly grabbed the blade light swung by Sudang, and grabbed it with one claw. I sensed earlier that your sword skills are terrifyingly powerful. You really can't let your guard down. Pingshan Shuriken's demon puppet had already suffered a loss once, and now that his real body was taking action, he was already prepared. Bang! The sword light was crushed by the claws. You broke my sword light with your palm alone without using a divine weapon. The strength of your divine body is even stronger than my super touch divine body. Sudang nodded secretly, not surprised. The 13 Crown Shuriken must have reached a new level of divine body. Although his sword skills that merge the divine power of the stars were powerful, they were only about the level of the 10 Crown Shuriken. It was weak against Pingshan Shuriken's real body. Come again. Sudang's heart moved, and this time he swung his long sword, and the star-like divine power surged into the Purgatory Divine Sword. The Purgatory Divine Artifact amplified. The power of the Divine Robe amplified. The power of the Divine Body amplified. Many powers were added at the same time, and he slashed out with a sword. Rumble, the dazzling sword light seemed to break through the crescent moon and the void. Instantly, the entire void was completely shattered. The cracks of the shattered space drifted to the body of Pingshan Shuriken. The power was endless. HMM. Pingshan Shuriken looked at the sword that was slashing at him. The surrounding void changed drastically. The power of the sword was terrifying, and pieces of the void were shattered. Interesting, the power of the sword light is even stronger. Pingshan Shuriken grinned. When fighting with the monster puppet, Sudang's sword skills were considered level 6. That is, the level of the 10 Crown Shuriken, but at this moment, he exploded and reached the threshold of level 7. Most of the level of the 11 Crown Shuriken. Obviously, this is Sudang's true strength. Sudang, others think that the peak competition is your true strength. It seems that they are all wrong. Your strength is more terrifying than the peak competition. But no matter how terrifying it is, he is not his opponent. As he spoke, Pingshan Shuriken activated his magic, and his divine body suddenly swelled to a height of 1,000 feet. At the same time, two heads appeared on his shoulders. The heads turned into eagle heads, and the two pairs of eyes that were as sharp as knives and flashing with golden light were extremely cold. His palms also turned into giant claws covered with golden scales, and each of the two giant claws held a long spear. The long spears burst into golden light and phantoms, and stabbed out one after another. Boom, boom. Two spears stabbed out, one of which stabbed at Sudang's sword light, and Sudang's sword light was immediately knocked away. This book was recently updated in update. Then another spear stabbed directly at Sudang's divine body. Boom boom. The void exploded layer by layer under that shot, and the nebula shattered. But Sudong's figure flashed, and the Xian Luo Wang Xiang body method was instantly displayed, and suddenly the entire void was full of Sudong's figure. Although it was everywhere, it was all phantoms. The real body escaped into time and space. This body movement? Pingshan Shuriken was surprised. The Cyan Light Shield secret treasure he used could suppress speed. When speed is suppressed, it is naturally more difficult to use body movement, but when Sudong used body movement, the shadow spread all over the space. How fast is this speed? If it is not suppressed, it would be even faster than the sky. Puff. A shot was stabbed out, and it didn't even touch the corner of Sudong's clothes. He didn't know that Sudong's body movement had made great progress. In terms of body movement alone, Sudong could be comparable to him. And the reason why Pingshan Shuriken was surprised was because he was also good at body movement. He himself was an eagle demon, and he was born good at flying. When he caused a great massacre, many powerful people chased him, but he escaped abruptly, which shows that his body movement was terrible. Sudong's power was strong, so he was not surprised. He was surprised that his body movement could be comparable to his. My artifact amplified the power, and it was fully integrated to stimulate the star power. It was so easy to break it. Sudong was also slightly surprised. The gap was too obvious. There is only one last strike left. Thousands of Sudong's phantoms swung their swords at the same time. Although they swung their swords at the same time, there was only one real person swinging the sword. Ultimate mode. Star power. The strongest strike burst out. Tens of millions of phantoms disappeared in an instant, leaving only a blade of light. Boom. The 9th level of Xian Weishan sword technique activated by the star power was terrifying enough. The power increased by 200 times when the ultimate mode was activated. This was an absolute killer move. If the star power stimulated the sword technique, plus the amplification of many artifacts, the power level could reach the 7th level threshold. Then the ultimate mode. The strike that burst out the star power is an absolute 8th level power. Swish. Sudong rushed out directly with the Purgatory Divine Sword in his hand. He rushed to Pingshan Shuriken in an instant and slashed down with a sword. This strike seemed to have a huge power bursting out of the sword. It was like an explosion in the void, and the power was extremely terrifying. In the Dao Mansion, Sudong had never tried the ultimate mode of bursting the star power, and it burst out at this moment. Break. The long spear in Pingshan Shuriken's hand stirred the void. The tip of the long spear touched the Purgatory Divine Sword in Sudong's hand. As soon as the collision, Pingshan Shuriken's eagle head showed fear. Chapter 709 You must die. How? Stronger. The long spear in Pingshan Shuriken's hand collided with Sudong's Purgatory Divine Sword. When the two collided, the power at the collision was like a volcanic eruption, and it instantly rushed in all directions. Pingshan Shuriken was stunned. At the beginning of the first knife, Sudong's knife skill was only level 6. The second knife's power reached level 7. The third knife's power directly climbed to level 8. The speed of improvement was too fast. Level 8 power was his level. One knife was stronger than the other. What kind of monster is this Sudong? The two collided at close range. Puff. The power of Xian Weishan's knife skill was transmitted to the divine body through the long spear. A blood mark appeared on Pingshan Shuriken's 1,000-foot high divine body. Sudong's palm holding the knife trembled, and the power of Pingshan Shuriken's spear skill was also transmitted to him. Wow. A brilliant lotus bloomed on Sudong's body. The lotus was extremely beautiful and dazzling. It easily blocked Pingshan Shuriken's powerful attack. The body protecting divine lotus? Pingshan Shuriken glared. The inherited divine artifact body protecting divine lotus. It's on him. How can I kill him? The body protecting divine lotus is famous for its strong body protection. Sudong's body skills are amazing. His sword skills are powerful, and there is also a body protecting divine lotus to protect his body. It's too difficult to kill him. In fact, as long as Sudong hides in the spring and autumn boat, he can't kill Sudong. On the contrary, if he fights again, he will suffer. Although such a strong sword skill must have triggered the secret method, it is impossible to last. But the body protecting divine artifact is too powerful. I can't kill him. Today's matter has failed. Pingshan Shuriken stood on the golden mountain cloud. Sudong was suspended in the void, surrounded by the beautiful body protecting divine lotus. He didn't continue to attack. After all, Pingshan Shuriken was the 13 crown Shuriken. No matter how strong he was only on par with him. Today was just a test of his strength when he burst out with all his strength. I burst out with all my strength, and I'm only at his level. Sudong was very calm. Wow. Pingshan Shuriken's divine body shrank. One of the two eagle heads disappeared, and the other turned into a normal human head, standing on the golden mountain cloud, looking at Sudong from afar with complicated eyes. Whoosh. Pingshan Shuriken also directly retracted the green light shield that enveloped the surroundings. Sudong Shuriken, I was wrong about what happened today. This BLUO divine cloth is my apology to you. A piece of divine clothing flew directly to a blank space in the void. Apology. Wait for the punishment from the Taoist government. Sudong's eyes were cold. Whether you believe it or not, it's really a misunderstanding. Pingshan Shuriken shook his head, but looking at Sudong's cold eyes, he didn't say much, turned around and walked into the palace. The golden mountain cloud carried the palace and disappeared in an instant. Sudong didn't chase him. First, he couldn't catch up. Pingshan Shuriken himself was very good at escaping, otherwise many strong men would not have let him escape when they chased him. Second, even if he caught up with Sudong's current strength, he couldn't do anything to the latter. Unfortunately, I didn't have any means to hold him back. If I could trap him, I would definitely kill him. Sudong's eyes were cold. There are many ways to kill Pingshan Shuriken. If he can be trapped, slowly use the means, and one day he will be able to kill him. Of course, the fastest way is to have enough strength so that he can easily destroy all threats. But Sudong can't do either of these two for the time being. Wow. With a wave of his hand, Sudong summoned the billow divine cloth in his hand, and then turned back to the spring and autumn boat. In the spring and autumn boat, the goddess Mingjing looked at Sudong with reverence. Pingshan Shuriken, that is the 13 crown Shuriken who was born as a powerful monster, but the master can fight Pingshan Shuriken to a draw. Is this the master's true strength? She was completely stunned and angry at the same time. Master, Pingshan Shuriken attacked the master. How dare he attack the master? I have reported to the Shuriken of Yama Palace. I also reported the scene of the fight just now. Sudong's face was calm. He has sent a message through Huangquan Daofu. In the void of the mountain and sea realm, in the heavenly palace of Mount Buzhao. What? Pingshan dares to attack you? The cold face of the Shuriken of Yama Palace was also furious. Just for an emperor's divine pill? The Shuriken of Yama Palace watched the scene of Sudong's message coming back. First, there was a conversation, and then the battle began. When he saw the power of Sudong's last sword, the king of Yama was shocked. Sudong's swordsmanship is so powerful that he can fight with Pingshan. He was not worried about Sudong's safety, because the inherited artifacts, the body protecting divine lotus and the spring and autumn boat, were both top-notch body protecting treasures. A Pingshan Shuriken, unless he had some special means to defy the heavens, could not kill Sudong at all. But the strength shown by Sudong shocked him instead. Is it because of the special artifact? Or the secret method? The Shuriken of Yama Palace guessed that every Shuriken had his own special opportunity to obtain some secret magic weapons and artifacts. It was normal not to make them public, so he naturally did not ask more questions. The stronger Sudong is, the happier he is. Sudong also believes in the Shuriken of Yama Palace, so he sent a direct message. Don't worry, Pingshan will definitely pay the price. The Shuriken of Yama Palace said. This book has been updated recently in @ Update. Price? Sudong took the Taoist order and nodded silently. The Taoist handling is usually just punishment. The greater the violation of the Taoist rules, the heavier the punishment. A 13 crown Shuriken cannot be executed just because he wants to. This is still me. I'm the first in the Taoist competition. A 13 crown Shuriken attacks me. The punishment will be very severe because it is important. If you kill me, Pingshan will be completely wiped out by Yama King. No one dares to stop it. He is not dead now. If the Shuriken of Yama Palace still attacks Pingshan Shuriken, it will be unreasonable. The Taoist will only preside over justice. If you really want to vent your anger, you still have to rely on yourself. Sudong shook his head silently. To vent your anger, you have to rely on fists, not relationships. Driving the spring and autumn boat into the void of the Middle Ages. I'm back. Sudang silently watched the scenes of the void where the heaven and earth converged. The divine object Jin Shan'an carried the palace, and flew quickly to the vast void, and directly entered the edge of the void abyss cave. The tall figure of Ping Shanshura appeared at the entrance of the cave. Success. An anxious voice came from the cave. Failed. Ping Shanshura's face was ugly. You failed after taking action? The anxious voice sneered. If you don't believe it, look for yourself. Wow. Ping Shanshura waved his hand. A confused scene was directly reflected in the cave. In that scene, Ping Shanshura waited for Sudang, but Sudang appeared. The monster puppet took action, and then he took action. Scenes appeared one by one. What? This Sudang is so powerful? The defense of the wooden boat divine object is outrageous, and there is also a body protection artifact? The voice in the cave was shocked. The Huangquan Daofu is just rich and powerful, and the shurikens they cultivate are more outrageous than each other. I have practiced for tens of millions of years, but I still don't have such a good flying artifact. Envy, jealousy, helplessness. I thought that Sudang was just a 5-crown shuriken who just won the Daofu competition, and his strength was at most the level of 8-crown and 9-crown shurikens. I could easily kill him, but I didn't expect. He failed so miserably. First, he underestimated Sudang's strength. Second, he underestimated Sudang's importance. Huangquan has given Sudang too many body protecting treasures. Ping Shanshura's face changed. What's wrong? Taishan Palace Shuriken sent a message. What good can a message at this time bring? He quickly took out the order token. Your subordinate Ping Shan pays homage to Taishan Palace Shuriken. Have you taken action against Sudang Shuriken? The voice of Taishan Palace Shuriken in the order token was cold. No, it was just a misunderstanding. I said it was a misunderstanding, but Sudang said I wanted some Emperor God Pill. Emperor God Pill. How could I be so stupid? And he took action first. Ping Shanshura explained hurriedly. I also compensated him with a divine robe and a divine artifact. Okay, if you compensate him with tens of thousands of reincarnation fruits, 3 divine artifacts, and a personal letter of apology, this matter will be forgotten. Remember, Sudang Shuriken is a shuriken that many powerful people in the Taoist palace are paying attention to. If something unexpected happens, you will die. Taishan Temple Shuriken said coldly. Chapter 710 Various Forces. Yes. Ping Shanshura was unwilling and dared not disobey and quickly agreed. Then he cut off the communication. If something happens to him, I will die. After cutting off the communication, Ping Shanshura shook his head and smiled bitterly. The Dao mansion obviously attaches more importance to Sudang. Yes, a shuriken who has practiced for only 1,000 years can catch up with me who has practiced for tens of millions of years. Compared with him, what am I? At this time, the voice came out of the cave again. Sudang is so strong. Why doesn't he go to the ranking battle? The higher the ranking in the ranking battle, the higher the status, and even at a certain level, there are special resources granted. It's different. Ping Shanshura shook his head. To break into the ranking battle, you rely on your own strength. Sudang has a set of divine weapons, and the power increase is so terrible. There are also body protecting divine weapons. Without body protecting divine weapons, how can I retreat? There are many body protecting divine weapons and magic weapons. Ping Shanshura knew that there was no hope of killing, so he retreated. Although he relies on divine tools, Sudang's strength is also extraordinary. He won first place in the Daofu competition, and his reputation is well deserved. Sudang certainly has strength, but not so amazing. With an outburst, he might be able to break through to the level of the 10-crown shuriken. But Sudang didn't try. Don't you want to rely on an outburst to get through the ranking? Or do you have other plans? This is not something Ping Shanshura can know. In fact, it's not terrible with a body protecting divine tool. If it weren't for my immature magic and unable to go further, Sudang would have died this time. He lost a lot this time. The owner of the voice in the cave didn't speak either. He knew that Ping Shanshura really tried his best this time. Sudong drove the spring and autumn boat and flew into the void of the Middle Ages. The void was vast. He flew straight into a huge world. This huge world, every void under the jurisdiction of Huanquandaofu has such a world, and countless palaces are rising and falling in the world. The Shura world. This is the office of Huanquandaofu. Here he comes. The commander-in-chief is here. One after another, figures had been waiting outside the palace. Among them was the tall and majestic bull-headed Ashura king, and the lord of the mansion, who was dressed in a Taoist robe, and had a gentle and elegant temperament. They all saw the flying boat that rushed into the Ashura world. Everyone was watching. In the past, in the Middle Ages, the void had always belonged to the void under the command of the Ashura king of the Bianji palace. Now that Sudong has appeared, the void belongs to the Ashura king of the Yama palace. There is only one Ashura king under the command of the Ashura king of the Yama palace, so of course he is a leader. Many Ashura kings secretly discussed. The sudden change of their immediate superiors also affected their interests. A 5-crown Ashura king, even if he has many treasures and is stronger than the lord of the mansion, can't compare to the lord of the mansion, who directly became the commander-in-chief. No matter where you are, strength is the first priority. The strong are respected. If you are weak, no matter how high your status is, you will be despised. This Sudong Shura king is the first in the Dao mansion competition. His potential is there. There is nothing you can do if you don't accept it. In the distance, the spring and autumn boat turned into a stream of light and stopped when it got closer. Whoosh! Sudong and the goddess Mingjing flew out of the boat. Greetings to the commander-in-chief. Many Shura kings saluted at the same time. After the Shura kings, there were the kings, and the kings also saluted. Sudong's face was calm. After receiving the commander's order, he knew the arrangements and deployments of the Huanquandao mansion in the void in the Middle Ages. There were a total of 37 Shura kings and 413 kings. 37 Shura kings were also 37 commanders. Before he came, these 37 Shura kings were in charge of all affairs. When he came, the 37 commanders and 413 kings naturally followed his dispatch. At a glance, the kings all showed respect. Sudong's strength and status were far higher than those, and the 37 Shura kings. Some of them clasped their fists and saluted, but their eyes were closed, and they looked perfunctory. Some of them smiled, but their smiles were frivolous. It was obvious that they did not take Sudong, the commander-in-chief, seriously. Among the 37 Shura kings, 15 have more than 10 crowns. Sudong did not care. There was no need for every Shura king to obey him. Just do what you should do. No need to be polite. Sudong waved his hand. The Shura kings and monarchs straightened their backs. Commander-in-chief, I will take you to the commander's palace. Lord Shura king stepped forward. Okay. Sudong nodded. Among the Shura kings, he was most grateful to this lord. When he first arrived at the time cave, it was the lord who took him there. In his eyes, the lord's strength was something he looked up to. In a blink of an eye, now he is also at this height. Sudong and the goddess Mingjing followed the lord and turned into streams of light and flew forward. The Shura kings were relieved. This book has been recently updated on #@. Update. Miaotao. This Sudong is really impressive. We came to greet him, but he didn't even say a word of courtesy. Several Shura kings who thought they were more experienced and powerful than Sudong looked very unhappy. Kijin, that's the Grand Commander. Do I need to be polite to you? The huge head of the Miaotao Shura king shook, and his horns were about to pierce the sky. Humph. Kijin Shura king snorted coldly, turned around and flew towards his own palace. Kijin Shura king, the 12-crown Shura king, was considered domineering in the past because his background involved the Shura king of Bianji palace. Now that Sudong suddenly appeared above his head, he was most unhappy. Grand Commander, this is the Grand Commander's palace. The lord of the mansion took Sudong and the goddess of Mingjing and flew into a towering temple, which was also the largest temple in the entire Shura world. It was very prominent. You can just call me Sudong, lord of the mansion. Sudong clasped his fists towards the lord of the mansion. The lord of the mansion couldn't help but smile. He was gentle and elegant. Although his strength had reached the level of the 13-crown Shura king, he was responsible for many affairs of the void. Now he was also moved. He had taken Sudang in, but he didn't expect that it had only been a short time since Sudang became the Grand Commander. His status was higher than his. Sudang, your cultivation speed is really fast. In a blink of an eye, you have become the first in the Deo Mansion competition. The Lord of the Mansion smiled and sighed. He watched Sudang rise, and the speed was so fast that he was shocked. You still need to work hard to practice. Sudang shook his head and then clasped his fists towards the Lord of the Mansion. In the future, the affairs of the Void will still depend on the Lord of the Mansion. Well, cultivation is important. You have an extraordinary talent, and you must not slack off. The Lord of the Mansion also smiled. On that day, the entire Shura world held a banquet. Sudang, the Grand Commander, was considered to have taken office. Late at night, a blood moon hung in the sky of the Shura world. Sudang was sitting in the majestic temple. In the medieval times, there were 4 major forces in the void. Huangquan Deofu, Void God Court, and Eternal Buddha realm each occupied one side. The other side was the Heavenly Palace. He silently digested the distribution of forces in the medieval times. The Void God Court guarded this side of the void, and the 5 dragon gods. The Eternal Buddha realm guarded this side of the void, and the Jduo Bodhisattva guarded this side of the void. The Heavenly Palace was a force that some casual cultivators in the medieval times united. The strongest was the Holy Spirit with the Taoist name of 3 eyes. In terms of the strength of the suppressors of each party, the 3-eyed Holy Spirit of the Heavenly Palace was the strongest, followed by the 5 dragon gods of the Void God Court, and the Jduo Bodhisattva ranked 3rd. In the past, the Lord of the Huangquan Deofu was the strongest. Now there is one more Sudang. Of course, on the surface, Sudang, the Great Commander, is just a symbol of status. The first place in the Deofu competition is most important for potential, not strength. It's interesting that a casual cultivator has become the strongest. Sudang smiled and then stopped thinking about it. The 5-colored stone avatar is coming. He stood up. Chapter 711, Commander Sudang. Then Sudang's Tuosh divine body soared into the sky. With his current speed, he could easily fly out of the Shura world and outside the Shura world. A tall figure moved forward quickly. The huge divine body pressed open the air currents in the void, causing the small worlds to tremble. The weak void god can only survive in the void, but a strong one like Sudang, who is at the level of a holy spirit, can destroy a void at will when traveling in the void. The stronger the strength, the stronger the control over the environment. The 5-colored stone clone, the black mountain flowing wave divine body, is normally thousands of feet high, pressing and shaking the surrounding worlds. Come. Sudang's Tuosh divine body waved his hand. The 5-colored stone clone quickly shrank, and finally turned into a 5-colored stone origin, flying into Sudang's brow. In the core data space of the brow, Sudang's will duck shape, maintaining the operation of the 7 stars. A purple fire lotus floated beautifully, and then another 5-colored divine stone appeared. The origin of the 5-colored stone clone is extremely heavy, and its power is magnificent, far exceeding the life of the 9 nether fire lotus. The core data space has transformed to accommodate the origin of the divine body. The star power can also nourish the origin. Sudang smiled. The star power is like a buried treasure. The more you dig, the more surprises you will get. It is also more unfathomable. The orbit of my 7 stars is completely simulated by the black flame stars in the core of the void inside the mountain and sea world. Sudang's will duck shape and observe the star operation system in the core data space. The origin of this orbit is huge. Although it is just a simulation of the orbit, the huge energy of the star power that can be generated is enough to shock Sudang. This is different from any cultivation method. It is more like a creation. The method is a way to use the energy between heaven and earth. Whether it is the Holy Spirit or the God, whether it is physical training or the cultivation of Taoism, it is a deeper extraction and application of the power under the heavenly way. But the star power is different. Star power is a kind of energy creation in itself. Sudang is more like the creator himself. The discovery of this level of power is incredible. Incredible, but also extremely powerful. The future is promising. Sudang said silently. Whoosh. Sudang returned to the Shura world. Great Commander, Lao Niu has something to ask you. As soon as Sudong returned, he saw the huge bull-headed Shuriken standing respectfully in front of his commander's palace. Bull-headed Shuriken, what's the matter? Sudong smiled. It's a small matter. The bull-headed Shuriken grinned. Let's go in and talk. Sudong flew straight into the temple, and the bull-headed Shuriken also changed his size and flew into the temple. After a while, you want to move the high-level bloodline clansmen of the Shyaneo clan into the Cheyenne world? In the temple, Sudong sat on the throne, looking at the bull-headed Shuriken with a simple expression below in amazement. Cheyenne world is a top world under the jurisdiction of Huanquandeofu. The rules in the world are perfect and the spiritual power is abundant. The blood of creatures born in the Cheyenne Great World will be much purer, and cultivation will be more efficient. Yes, I'm willing to exchange my merits and Deo fruits for it, the bull-headed Azura King said. Sudong blinked. There are so many strong people who want to get their tribe into a good world. Naturally, they need to pay, and in many cases, paying requires connections. I didn't expect that this bull-headed Azura King cared so much about his tribe. Okay, with your merits and 100,000 Huanquandeo fruits, the Shyaneo tribe will move into the Cheyenne Great World. Sudong nodded happily. Then the command order appeared in his hand. With a slight movement in his heart, he directly issued a decree with the command order. The king's steward who was in charge of the order of heaven and earth immediately received the order. The commander-in-chief guards a void. As long as it is under the jurisdiction of the Huanquandeofu, the will of the commander-in-chief is above everything else. The bull-headed Azura King was excited and saluted respectfully. Thank you, commander-in-chief. He respectfully left the temple. After leaving, the bull-headed Azura King smiled as bright as a chrysanthemum. I, bull-headed, will remember the kindness you have shown to my Shyaneo clan. In fact, if it was another Azura King who was the commander, he might not dare to speak up. It was Sudong who became the commander-in-chief. It was Sudong who escorted Sudong to Mount Buzhao. This was a favor. Sudong was able to agree to his request so readily, obviously because of that favor. On the same day, the bull-headed Azura King excitedly sent a message to his many clansmen. In a vast world completely covered by green grasslands, there stood a vast temple. There were many powerful men in the temple, all of whom were huge in size, with bull heads and human bodies. It's done. Can we move into the Cheyenne world? The elders of the clan were full of surprise. Ancestor, we also wanted to move to Cheyenne world in the past, but a large area of Cheyenne world was occupied by the Kijin Shuriken clan. There are only tens of millions of people in the clan, but they occupied such a large area. Why did they give it up this time? The high-level officials of the Shyaneo clan were puzzled. They were also panicked. Kijin Shuriken had a lot of background. But as the clan grew larger, they naturally wanted a better place to practice. The commander-in-chief gave the order, and it's settled. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. In the Shura world, Kijin Shuriken was wearing a silver robe, with a slender neck and flashes of lightning in his eyes. At this moment, he was drinking fairy wine with several Shurikens in his palace. This Sudong is really arrogant. You saw it at the banquet. He was completely superior to us, and he just talked and laughed with the lord of the mansion. Sudong, he didn't take us seriously at all. Several Shurikens were indignant. No one was happy when a commander-in-chief suddenly appeared from the sky. In the past, the strongest among them was the lord of the mansion. The lord of the mansion was gentle and fair, and everyone lived in peace. But Sudong was different. Sudong had a tough character, and was very aggressive. They didn't treat Sudong well, and Sudong didn't bother to pay attention to them. Sudong, who won the first place in the Deofu competition, is a little arrogant. Even if he has great potential, he needs to practice slowly to reach our level. Now he is so arrogant. It's because he relies on the power of King Yama. He will be the commander-in-chief when he comes down the mountain. A group of people said. They all rejected Sudong as the commander-in-chief. Kijin was happy to listen to their nagging. There are so many powerful geniuses who have died. Sudong, maybe he will die one day. He didn't care at all. But suddenly, his family token sent a message. What? Half of the territory occupied by our clan in Cheyenne world will be divided to the Shyaneo clan? Kijin Shuriken stood up directly from his chair, his eyes flashing with lightning. The other Shurikens all looked over. Who gave the order? Kijin Shuraking's face was gloomy. Then he frowned. Do as I say. He spat out 2 words and then put away the order. You are so good, Sudan. You are the first one to burn me? Kijin Shuraking's aura surged and he growled. What's wrong with Sudan? Don't be impulsive. The eyes of the other Shurakings flashed. I have something to do. I won't accompany you for now. Kijin Shuraking said, and then turned and went into the hall. Dang is really angry. Then Sudan, how did you provoke Kijin? A thin red-haired Shuraking sneered. Kijin Shuraking is not a soft persimmon that can be squeezed by others. In a field, Kijin Shuraking stood there. Sudan, you broke up first, so you can't blame me. I'm the commander, and you occupied my people's land without saying hello. Cheyenne is a big world, that is a treasure land. Everyone wants to occupy a little. How could he let go of his anger when half of his money was taken away for no reason? The king of Shura in Yama Palace asked you to be the commander-in-chief because he wanted you to learn the ways of the world. Do you really think you are the most powerful? He waved his hand and a golden note appeared out of thin air. On the note were 3 words, Warfare. Chapter 712. Just to show you power. Guarding the void. Disputes are inevitable, so things are not done in the Deo mansion, where the distribution is even and everything is peaceful. If there is a dispute, how can it be resolved? First, it depends on relationships. Whoever has a strong relationship background is powerful. Second, it depends on strength. In the past, Kijin Shuraking was able to dominate the void in the Middle Ages because his friend Langtan Shuraking was the heir of Bayanji Palace Shuraking. With Langtan Shuraking's protection, naturally everyone is more in awe of him. In some vague distribution of interests, he dares to take what others dare not take. He dares to move what others dare not move. But Kijin Shuraking is very sober. It's okay to compete with other Shurakings for relationships and backgrounds, but with Sudan, there's no way to compete. The only Shuraking under the Yama Palace is the first in the Deo Mansion competition. He has a very high status, far above him. He didn't even have the strength, but he was parachuted into the commander-in-chief. How can this relationship background be compared? It can only be based on strength. Sudan, no matter how great your potential is, you are not my opponent now. Why are you using me as a target? Kijin Shuraking had an ugly look on his face. He used his divine power to easily write a letter of challenge. Then the power spread. Kijin was also a Shuraking who had reached the 12th crown in the ranking battle, and he had several top artifacts in his hands. His strength was naturally extraordinary. Go. After writing the letter of challenge, he flew out of the dojo and the palace. In the palace of the commander-in-chief, Sudan was drinking tea, and the goddess Mingjing was sitting respectfully beside him. Suddenly, a pressure descended. Sudan raised his eyelids and saw a golden light flying outside the palace. The golden light was suspended in the air and spread horizontally. It formed a huge golden greeting card. 3 days later, the Shura field, the decisive battle. Do you dare to come, Commander-in-Chief? Kijin greets you. The words were concise and to the point. Every word on the greeting card was filled with fierce fighting spirit. Moreover, the invitation contained a huge pressure, which spread directly and alarmed the Shurakings in Shura world. That is, the goddess Mingjing was even more trembling when she saw the invitation. This is Shura world, and her master is the commander-in-chief. Who dares to be so disrespectful? War card? Shurakings flew out of their palaces one by one. Shura world is so small that they could see the hanging invitation at a glance. Kijin, the lord of the mansion, frowned and glanced at the hanging invitation. The strong provocation in the invitation made him look ugly. The bull-headed Shuraking also flew out of the palace. When he saw the huge invitation, his bull eyes burst into anger. This Kijin, come at me if you have the guts. Sudan stood up directly. Want to challenge me, Kijin Shuraking? He sneered. Kijin Shuraking had a bad temper and really didn't take him seriously. He directly hung the challenge letter in front of his palace so that all the Shurakings could see it. He had no choice but to accept it. The commander challenged the commander-in-chief. If the commander-in-chief didn't accept it, what authority would he have among the Shurakings in the future? In fact, many Shurakings were also watching. Haha, Kijin really didn't give our commander-in-chief face. So provocative. This is guarding the void outside, not in the mountains. In the mountains, everyone practices their own way, so there is no intersection. It's different here. It's good to give Sudang a warning, so that he can wake up. Most of the 37 Shuriken commanders stood on the side of Kijin Shuriken. They all wanted to see Sudang get a lesson. And there are many people who support Kijin Shuriken to do this. After all, Kijin Shuriken is the beginning. Today, Sudang dares to attack Kijin Shuriken. In the future, he will dare to touch their interests. It is better to give him a warning as soon as possible. Don't really think that you can do whatever you want just because you have a big background. They still believe in the strong, and they subconsciously dislike this kind of relationship. It depends on whether Sudang dares to accept it. It's better not to accept it. Although it loses face, it is better than being defeated and humiliated in public. Everyone discussed. Kijin Shuriken is the 12 crown Shuriken. He has many artifacts and extraordinary strength. They have also watched Sudang's peak game. He does have great potential, but he still needs to be on par with Kijin Shuriken now. But then he saw the golden light flashing on the visiting card and disappearing directly into the palace. Then a slender figure flew out of the palace of the commander-in-chief with a cold face. Kijin Shuriken, my master has accepted your challenge. After he finished speaking, he turned around and returned to the palace. Received it? Really? Haha, our commander-in-chief is still courageous. Kijin Shuriken stood in front of the palace with a slender neck. He was still waiting for Sudang to come out, to question him or give in. But he only saw the goddess Mingjing come out and say something lightly. I sent a letter of challenge, but you only let a maid respond? Kijin Shuriken was so angry that his teeth itched. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. In 3 days, I'll see how rampant you are. The lord of the palace flew to Sudang's palace. Sudang was still drinking tea leisurely. Seeing him come in, a smile appeared on his face. Commander-in-chief. Seeing Sudang's attitude, the lord of the palace smiled instead. That Kijin is narrow-minded and used to being domineering. Is this challenge because of the shy and great heaven and earth territory? The Shuriken circle is so small that a little investigation can find out what happened. Such a small matter has caused such a big momentum. He just offered a challenge, leaving no room for maneuver. The lord of the mansion shook his head. He wanted to show me his power on purpose. Sudang smiled. I will accompany you. Are you confident? In fact, the commander-in-chief can completely ignore this Kijin. He openly provoked the commander-in-chief, and the commander-in-chief can suppress him with the commander's order. The lord of the mansion said, if you suppress him, you can't suppress others. Sudang shook his head. Besides, he is just a Kijin Shuriken, not worthy of his fear. Rather than using force to suppress others, he prefers to speak with fists. Since the commander-in-chief is confident, I won't persuade him. Just be careful of Kijin. This outside fight is different from the ranking battle. In the ranking battle, Kijin's ranking of 12th crown is the limit, but he has 2 special artifacts on him. One is the Yin Fu Divine Shuttle, and the other is the Demon Subduing Banner. Both of them are extremely extraordinary, so the commander-in-chief should not be careless. The lord of the mansion said, okay. Sudang nodded. The lord of the mansion left immediately. A strong man like Sudang has a firm mind and will go forward courageously once he has decided to do something. You can say he is sharp or reckless. The lord of the mansion was worried because he stood on Sudang's side. Everyone thinks I will lose. Sudang smiled. However, he did not show much strength in public. If they knew that the master even defeated Pingshan Shuriken, they would not be so arrogant. The goddess of Mingjing smiled. Sudang picked up the teacup and drank the tea. Possess 2 special artifacts. The Yinfu Shenshu and the Fumo Banner are both artifacts of the Immortal Way. The artifacts of the Immortal Way are different from those of the Void God, and they are more bizarre. If I want to fight, I can't rely on the body protection artifacts. What do you plan to do? I must show my strength and suppress this Kijin. Sudang said silently. The next day, a letter of apology came from Sudang's Daofu order. Pingshan Shuriken personally apologized and sent 3 top artifacts. Over 10,000 Samsara Dao fruits were given as gifts. Many rare treasures and specialties from the heaven and earth were also given as gifts. In the future, there were even many beautiful concubines from various races sent to him. Chapter 713 Demonstrating Strength. The apology post. The list of apologies alone was very long. 3 artifacts, 2 were artifact long swords, and 1 was an artifact long spear. The divine sword Nethermoon, the divine sword POZ. Sudang put away the 2 divine swords. In terms of quality, the Nethermoon is a little stronger than POZ, and the blade is slender. It is more suitable for fast swords, and the body movement will be more weird when performing sword skills. The Nethermoon was given to his 9 Nether Fire Lotus clone. The divine spear Dulang. Sudang also studied the spear skills in the 3 Lives Talisman world. He waved it casually and then put it away. 3 artifacts, each of them is of great value. This punishment is heavy enough for a 13 crown shuriken. Sudang nodded with a slight satisfaction. As for the more than 10,000 reincarnation fruits, it can be regarded as a small fortune. Earlier, we talked about the 2 famous artifacts in the hands of King Kijinshura. One is the Underworld Divine Shuttle, and the other is the Demon Subduing Banner. In terms of value, they are about the same as the 2 magic swords. To be famous in his hands, that is all the wealth of King Kijinshura, but King Pingshinshura lost 3 artifacts. Those who dare to make a move on him will naturally have to pay a heavy price. King Pingshinshura. Sudang shook his head and stopped thinking about the latter. He also didn't want to think about the challenge 2 days later. He silently entered the eternal space and practiced swordsmanship while time was slowed down 100 times. At the same time, the 9 Nether Fire Lotus life also comprehended the Divine Fire Dao, and the foundation of the Dao that was burned and consumed was also recovering. Only being strong is the most important thing. If you want to shock these shurikens, your own strength is still the most important thing. The speed of time in the Shura world is much faster than that in the mountain and sea realm void. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, the Shuriken world was completely paved with blood-colored jade in the Shura field. Kijin Shuriken was wearing a silver robe, and a large banner emitting golden light behind him fluttered in the wind. There was also a 3-foot-long shuttle suspended above his head, and there were gusts of cold wind on it, which was quite weird. Outside the Shura field, 36 Shuriken commanders gathered, and some special kings were also present. As for other kings, they were naturally not qualified to come. This was a friction between the commanders. How could the kings observe it? Whoosh! A stream of light flashed by. It landed directly in the Shura field. It transformed into Sudang's figure. The Grand Commander is here. Grand Commander. The 36 Shura kings all bowed and saluted. Even if there was more friction, Sudang's status was still there. Even if he lost the battle today, it would only affect Sudang's authority. His status was still the Grand Commander. He was still superior to them. Sudang also nodded slightly. On the surface, many Shura kings respected Sudang as the Grand Commander and watched calmly, but at this moment, all kinds of voice transmissions and discussions were quite lively in the dark. TSK, it's really a good idea. Let's see what his expression will be when he is beaten by Kijin. Will he complain to King Yanluo? Haha, that would be interesting. There were many discussions. They all thought that Kijin Shuriken would win. I saw Sudang in the peak competition. His swordsmanship talent is extraordinary. Can he compare with Kijin? Let's talk about it when he reaches the Daoxuan realm. I watched Sudang enter the Taoist palace, and I know his personality well. The lord of the palace watched silently. Although Sudang was just a weak god king at that time, he always performed exceptionally well in every battle, so he had the confidence to accept the challenge. I'm completely impressed by the courage of the commander-in-chief, not to mention the bull-headed Shuriken, who was completely on the side of Sudang. Commander-in-chief. On the Shura field, the Kijin Shuriken also smiled at Sudang. Let's do it, Sudang said coldly. The Kijin Shuriken couldn't help but grin. Let's make a deal first. In the Shura field duel, whoever admits defeat first loses. You can't rely on body protecting artifacts and magic weapons to defend yourself, nor can you hide in the cave of the gods. Okay. Sudang nodded. Very good. Kijin Shuriken nodded with satisfaction. The other Shurikens who listened to this thought that Kijin Shuriken was cunning enough. What was Sudang's identity? The Shuriken who ranked first in the Daofu competition would definitely be given many body protecting treasures. Those body protecting treasures were generally able to withstand attacks of the level of the 10 Palaces Shurikens. If Sudan played tricks and activated the body protecting artifacts and stood there for him to blast, he would probably not be able to blast them away. Grand Commander, I have one more question. I, Kijin, think I have been polite to you. But why did you divide the territory of my people in the Cheyenne world to others without saying a word? Kijin Shuriken opened his mouth, and his voice resounded throughout the Shura field. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. Your territory? I guard this void, and I haven't heard of any territory of your Kijin clan. Sudong opened his mouth. Part of the territory of the Cheyenne world has always been occupied by my Kijin clan. Kijin Shuriken snorted coldly. With more than 10 million tribesmen, they occupy a territory that can nurture billions of lives, which is too much. Sudong shook his head. A lot. In terms of population reproduction, I don't think it's much. Kijin Shuriken sneered. Do you think I'm unfair? Sudong frowned. Kijin Shuriken choked. Sudong is the commander-in-chief. The commander-in-chief is in charge of everything in the void. Whatever he says is what it is, and no one dares to disobey. This is also why he knew from his tribesmen that it was the commander-in-chief who gave the order, and he only said do it. Immediately, Kijin Shuriken laughed instead. Commander-in-chief, if I win today, I will take back that territory. The bull-headed Shuriken outside the field stared immediately, but before he could speak, Sudong's voice had already drifted in all directions. Let's talk about it after you win. Haha, okay. The Kijin Shuriken laughed. He was sure of victory. Sudong clenched his palms, and the Purgatory Divine Sword was in his hand, and the cold sword intent immediately spread out. Strange star-like scenes flowed in Sudong's divine body. His divine body also exuded blood like the starry sky. The blood was strong, and enveloped the entire Shura field. With the lighting of the 7th star, Sudong's divine body made great progress. The flow of star power and the starlight formed by the blood echoed with each other, and outsiders could not see the specialness of his divine power. Since he decided to crush this Kijin Shuriken, Sudong naturally activated the star power directly. It is also time to show his own strength to shock many commanders. The divine body is indeed powerful, but the power of the divine body alone is not enough. Take my shuttle. Kijin Shuriken waved his hand, and the 3-foot-long shuttle on his head immediately brought up gusts of dark wind, which were like steel knives, entangled and gathered together, and rushed directly towards Sudong. The cultivator kings nearby were all watching. Although most of them thought that Kijin Shuriken would win, Sudong was too confident. How could he be so confident that he could become the first in the Daofu competition? They all wanted to see what methods this commander-in-chief had. The demon subduing banner is good at defense and the dark wind shuttle is good at attack. This is the dark wind shuttle. Kijin is not careless and wants to suppress the commander-in-chief directly. The few people who were watching from afar nodded slightly to Kijin Shuriken's commander. They must not be careless. It would be ridiculous if they lost because of carelessness. The dark wind shuttle is a killer move. A cold light flashed in Kijin Shuriken's eyes. I just want to teach you a lesson and make you sober. Kijin Shuriken waved his hands and instantly cast several spells. He was a holy spirit that was transformed from a heavenly immortal, so his fighting habits tended to be like that of an immortal. He activated the magic weapon to cast the spell. Suddenly, the long shuttle shooting out in front of him became even more gloomy, and even a strong shadow of evil appeared in the gloomy wind. Destroy. Sudong swung his long sword, and the speed of the Purgatory long sword was so fast that it was blurred. A ray of sword light shot out, as if it cut through this time and space, and the blade was like a mirror. So fast. Kijin Shuriken's face sank. The eyes of the other Shurikens all lit up slightly. Chapter 714. The strong are respected. This knife is too fast. The star power uses a Kaian Kyu style, which is faster than the original one. Sudong thought to himself. In the battle with Pingshan Shuriken, he did not use the Kaian Kyu style, because Pingshan Shuriken's strength is stable. 13 Crown Shuriken, and he is a monster, with a strong monster body. The fast knife speed is not a threat to Pingshan Shuriken, but Kijin Shuriken is different. Kijin Shuriking's strength is only at the threshold of 12 crowns Shuriking. He is good at Taoism and has a divine body. This style is enough. Boom. Kyan Kyu style. The knife light penetrates time and space, and the moment it is seen is too late. The knife light directly hits the long shuttle. Kijin Shuriking's 10 fingers flicked and controlled the long shuttle continuously, but the long shuttle focused on attacking, and because of the divine power control, the power burst is very strong, but the flexibility is poor, and Sudang's knife light is extremely fast. The speed is too terrifying, and the long shuttle has no time to change the trajectory of flying out. Directly collide with the knife light. The netherworld shuttle only blocked for a moment, and then was chopped away by the sword light. The power of the sword light was also terrifying. Not good. Kijin Shuriking's entire divine body trembled. Just the first sword strike suppressed him. Awesome. The sword technique is extremely fast. The commander-in-chief has a high level of attainment in sword technique. He easily blocked Kijin's netherworld shuttle. The commander-in-chief's strength is not inferior to Kijin. The Shurikings who were watching the battle were also shocked. They all understood that Kijin Shuriking had kicked a wall today. Their commander-in-chief really had the strength and confidence. The Lord of the Palace smiled. The power of the gods is so strong. Has he reached the Daoxuan realm? In terms of vision, the Lord of the Palace was higher than the Pingshan Shuriking. He easily saw that the speed of Sudang's sword technique was secondary. The most important thing was the power of the gods. The level of the power of the gods was outrageous. In the Daochu realm, the strongest power of the gods was only at the level of the 9 crown and 10 crown Shurikings. Reaching the threshold of Daoxuan realm, because of the stronger control over Dao, the power of divine power will be raised to the level of 12 to 14 crowns. Just relying on a sword technique that is good at speed, he broke the long shuttle of Kijin Shuriking. Obviously, the power of divine power is strong. However, Sudang's divine power was only at the Daochu level during the peak competition. Now there is another breakthrough. Even if his comprehension is high, it is against the sky. The 36 commanders outside the Shura field were shocked. Kijin Shuriking in the field was even more shocked. In front of so many commanders, he felt his face burning. How long has he been practicing? How long has Sudang been practicing? One sword can stop him? Demon subduing banner. Kijin Shuriking waved his hand. Boom boom boom. The large flag suspended behind him suddenly rose in the wind. A series of terrifying golden winds that twisted the world roared out and instantly enveloped the surrounding void. Wow. The golden wind cut iron like mud, shattered the space, and also blocked the remaining power of Sudang's Kyan Kyu style sword light. His 2 artifacts, the long shuttle for attack and the demon suppressing banner for defense, entangled. Then a huge golden palm condensed out of thin air on the Shura field. The golden palm shone brightly. Wow. With the demon suppressing banner as the center. The golden palm was powerful and directly whistled and opened its 5 fingers. It pressed towards Sudang in front. Break. Sudang shouted coldly. The star power was running, and the figure rushed out directly. In an instant, the Xian Luo Wang Xiang body method was displayed, and time and space accelerated. After the Daofu competition, under the guidance of Fihang Shuriking, Sudang's biggest improvement was body method. Body method flow, at some level, is also called the unbeaten flow. Swish swish swish. The body method is terrifying, and the sword method is even more terrifying. He whistled directly towards the huge golden palm. For a moment, there were thousands of figures, time and space were disordered, and there were thousands of sword lights. These thousands of sword lights were densely packed and directly hit the golden palm. One sword light was extraordinary. Thousands of them were like a torrent of sword lights rushing past fiercely. Bang, bang, bang. The torrent of sword lights washed past, and every wave had terrifying power. This body method got. The Shurikings outside the Shura field were all horrified. This body method. Who can withstand it? They can't withstand it, and Kijin Shuriking can't withstand it either. The sword light washed over, destroying the golden giant hand condensed by the demon subduing banner with a crushing force. Then the demon subduing banner, which was hit hard, trembled and flew away, revealing Kijin Shuriking behind it. This Kijin Shuriking also activated the body protecting artifact. There was a bronze mirror on his chest. It emitted a layer of golden light, to protect the divine body. It was he who stipulated that the body protection artifacts could not be relied on, but at this moment he activated them first. Boom. The torrent of sword light continued unabated. It directly washed over the divine body of Kijin Shuriken. The divine light of the bronze mirror artifact that protected the body could weaken the power by 30%, and the remaining 70% of the power still washed over the divine body of Kijin Shuriken through the divine mirror. 70% of the power. Puff. Most of Kijin Shuriken's divine body was directly shattered, and the blood of the gods was scattered, leaving only a head. I give up. The head of Kijin Shuriken shouted hurriedly. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. The sword light in the sky suddenly dissipated, and Sudang's figure fell to the ground. Kijin Shuriken instantly recovered his divine body and became a holy spirit, with the essence of Tao added to his body. He also comprehended the great way of life and death, so his vitality was naturally strong. The holy spirit was difficult to kill, and Sudang had deliberately held back just now, without bursting with power to completely wipe out the original spirit of Kijin Shuriken. Otherwise, Kijin Shuriken would really die. Lost. Kijin Shuriken knelt down, his face pale. I have been practicing for tens of millions of years. Tens of millions of years ago, I was one of the geniuses of the Dao Mansion. Now I have even broken through the Daoxuan realm. I didn't expect that his divine power has also reached the Daoxuan realm. The loss was without suspense. There was no power to fight back. The divine power was crushed, the Dao method was crushed, and the body skills were unimaginable. The gap was too big. In fact, if the difference between the divine power and the Dao method is large, it can still be turned around. The body speed is terrifying. That is truly awe-inspiring. There is no room for turning around. Kijin Shuriken's divine body is too poor. Even if he has a divine body like Pingshin Shuriken, he can last for a long time. Unfortunately, he didn't. In fact, Sudang's realm did not break through the Daoxuan realm, but the star divine power was too against the sky, which forcibly raised Sudang's combat power to a high level. I'm ignorant, and offended the majesty of the commander-in-chief. Please punish me. Kijin Shuriken knelt there and said, "Get up." Sudang glanced at the Kijin Shuriken, and without saying much, he turned around and looked at the many Shurikens around him. We are ordered to guard the void, protect one side, hunt the life of purgatory, and eliminate the evil of the void. This is a duty. As for managing many resources, I have my own sense of propriety. Is there anyone who thinks I'm unfair? I dare not. Guard the void. The commander-in-chief is in charge of everything. I think the commander-in-chief is very fair. All the Shuriken saluted. This is a world of the strong. The strong are respected, and strong strength is the foundation. Sudang looked at them, and they all bowed their heads. Sudang then retracted his gaze, turned around and turned into a stream of light and flew away. Only many Shurikens were left trembling with fear. There is a commander-in-chief with connections. They respect him on the surface, but they are still relaxed in their hearts. But this commander-in-chief not only has a strong background, but also has stronger strength. Then they are not just respecting him on the surface. They are even more frightened in their hearts. The Grand Commander is in charge of everything in the void. Who dares not to obey within the territory of Huanquan Daofu? The days ahead will be difficult. I heard that in the mountains. Although the Grand Commander is gifted, he has a gentle personality and has a good relationship with many Shurikens. Why is he so cold? Humph. Kijin has set a good example. Who is willing to give you a good face? The commanders who were originally on the side of Kijin Shuriken were sweating coldly on their foreheads. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 715. The road is long, but we will reach our destination. They all felt Sudang's indifference towards them. People are mutual. When their strength reaches this level, they can sense the good and evil intentions in an instant. If any of them truly respected Sudang from the bottom of their hearts, when Sudang came, Sudang would not have such an attitude towards them. Those who were originally close to Kijin Shuriken are now alienated from him. Guarding the void, the commander-in-chief is in charge of all affairs and has absolute control over the resources of the void. Dare to question? This is also because Kijin Shuriken is used to being arrogant, so he is so reckless. Now, not to mention that the commander's order of the Dao mansion has absolute deterrence. Sudong's strength alone makes them tremble. Sudong has left, but Kijin Shuriken is still kneeling there with cold sweat. I offended this Sudong today. In the future, if he asks me to patrol some dangerous places, should I go or not? His heart tightened. What kind of people are afraid of what? Kijin Shuriken is narrow-minded, likes to fight for power, abuse power for personal gain, and oppress others, so he is also afraid that Sudong will bear a grudge. The commander-in-chief is stronger than him, so it is as easy to get rid of him without anyone noticing as to crush an ant. As for the other shurikens, they are also calculating in their hearts. What do cultivators pursue when they reach their level? Isn't it to be stronger and have more cultivation resources? Huangquan Daofu's dominance over the resources of the void is extremely terrifying, so the cultivation resources they get are also terrifyingly rich. The treasure land in the void was occupied by their family first. What kind of rare treasure appeared in the void? They took it first. The status of the descendants is in full swing. They are also the first to choose the top beauty Taoist companion. This is the benefit of power. With the same strength, without background, snatching a treasure requires a life and death fight, but with background, the other party will obediently offer it. Who is willing to fight if it can be easily obtained? This is the power of power. The great commander who guards the void has even more monstrous power. Offending the great commander? That would be courting death. The great way prevails, and the strong are respected. This is the eternal truth. Where there is life, there is struggle. The strong survive, and only then will stronger ones emerge continuously. Sudong returned to the commander's palace. Power. Looking at the vast sky of the Shura world, the Shura world is large and wide enough, but such great worlds are as numerous as cattle hairs in the void. A Cheyenne world involves many interests, so you can imagine how complicated the interests of the void are. Guarding the void and serving as the great commander, the Shuriken of the Yama Palace has warned him more than once to be careful. Be cautious. Be on guard. Status is a double-edged sword. While it brings power, it will also be accompanied by hardships and dangers. If Sudong was not strong enough, he would be the one kneeling there today, using the commander's order to coerce. It will only make people laugh. Even the king of Yama is embarrassed. Blindly pursuing power will only make you lose your original intention. The supreme power will always be in the hands of the strongest. Sudong shook his head. The commander-in-chief. He didn't care at all. He just guarded a piece of void. He was willing to protect the piece of void from the bottom of his heart. Some power and status were pure jokes. Look at the great Emperor Cheyenne Qi Rinsheng. What kind of power he had. But how many people can reach that level of strength? Continuously getting stronger is my path. With the star system, he has the confidence to go further and higher. But the difficulty of improvement is also not low. Although the road is long and the road ahead is difficult, it will be reached if it is feasible. Sudong said silently. From this day on, many commanders would come to the commander's hall to worship every half month. The kings under the commander patrolled the void everywhere and dared not neglect it at all. 1 month after the fight with Kijin Shuriken, Pingshan Shuriken's many apologies were truly delivered to the medieval void. Heavenly flame stone. Flowing wave divine jade. These are all top treasures. This Pingshan Shuriken is really willing to spend them. Sudong put away many treasures. These treasures are helpful for improving the essence of his 5-colored stone clone. And they are very rare and hard to come by. He is afraid that the master will seek revenge on him one day, so he spends money to avoid disasters. Goddess Mingjing smiled. Her master has such potential that he can already repel Pingshan Shuriken now. When he grows up, he will be another King Yama. Who wants to make enemies if they can please him? Unfortunately, this Pingshan Shuriken is a big demon, and a big demon with heinous crimes. Sudong shook his head. Goddess Mingjing nodded and didn't say anything else. After getting along for a long time, she also felt that the master had a deep prejudice against demons and couldn't stand evil demons. Master, there are also beautiful girls from various tribes. Would you like to take a look? Goddess Mingjing took out a list. Forget it, you can arrange it. Sudong shook his head. Yes. Goddess Mingjing nodded obediently. Sudong was immersed in cultivation. Another half month passed in a flash. Lang Tong Shuriking. Sudong received the command talisman and smiled. Lang Tong Shuriking is the descendant of Bianji Palace Shuriking. He originally supervised the void in the Middle Ages. It was not until he arrived and took the position of the Grand Commander that Lang Tong Shuriking stopped handling it. This book has been updated recently in @ Update. Bianji Palace Shuriking once secretly intimidated Zhang Zhen Shuriking when he helped Feng Lao Rongzi return to life. Sudong naturally remembered this affection. Not to mention Bianji Palace Shuriking, in terms of strength, Lang Tong Shuriking himself is extremely strong and gifted. He has long been the leader of the 13 Crown Shuriking. Sudong, I heard that Kijin offended you? Lang Tong Shuriking smiled. Before Sudong could speak, Lang Tong Shuriking continued, he has that kind of temper. Don't take it to heart. I don't take it to heart. Let him not worry. Sudong also smiled. This Kijin Shuriking is still afraid that he will retaliate in the future. On the other side, in a Taoist temple of the great heaven and earth, Kijin Shuriking held up his slender neck and looked at the tall figure in front of him. The tall figure had a broad back and was wearing armor. His face was quite handsome. He was putting away the command talisman. Have you said it? Kijin Shuriking said. Well, you are too worried. I think Sudong doesn't care about you at all. Lang Tong Shuriking shook his head. He and Kijin Shuriking have a close relationship. There are many things that he helped to solve. Huh, that's good. Kijin Shuriking breathed a sigh of relief. But then he said, it's hard to say. Who knows if Sudong is a vindictive person? Among the many powerful people in the void, which one is easy to mess with? Sudong has a broader mind than you. Lang Tong Shuriking joked. But from now on, he is the commander-in-chief, and you can't disobey him anymore. Don't worry, how dare I? Kijin Shuriking shrank his neck. Sudong is stronger than him now. What about in the future? But what father said is right. This Sudong's achievements are limitless. Lang Tong Shuriking also admired. From becoming a king, to learning Taoism in Buzhao Mountain, and then becoming Shuriking, it has only been a short time. Not only is he the first in the Dao Mansion competition, but his strength is close to his level. This cultivation speed is too exaggerated. Many Shurikings think he is a monster, but Sudong thinks that his cultivation speed is too slow. The years of cultivation are fleeting, and 3 years have passed in the Shura world in a blink of an eye. On this day, in the palace of the Grand Commander, Sudong sat cross-legged in the training field. The majestic Holy Spirit law surrounded him, and the divine mist filled the entire palace, and a divine light was lingering. It took so long. I burned the foundation of Taoism 9 times, and the 8th star was only lit up less than 1%. Sudong shook his head. It's time to go out. In the Shura world, the spiritual energy is relatively thin, and the perception of the great Dao of life and death is slow. Not as slow as the void of the mountain and sea realm. It is also because he focused on the star system that it took these 3 years. It's time to go out for a walk. Chapter 716 18 Star Palace. Guarding the void and venturing into the void is inevitable, and Sudong is well prepared. The most important part of the star system, the stars, is closely related to the Dao Shendan. So far, Sudong can do 2 solutions. One is to continuously burn the foundation of the Dao to refine the Dao Shendan, so as to light up the stars. The second is to find the various Dao fragments recorded in the Rang Dao chapter and directly swallow the Dao fragments to improve. The second is too difficult. The Dao fragments are scattered in the endless void, and only 96 kinds are recorded. Whenever they appear, they are treasures that everyone fights for. They are hard to come by. Sudong can't waste his energy on relatively illusory Dao fragments. Then if you want to improve the efficiency of lighting up the stars, you can only rely on burning Dao. My Tush Divine Body and the 5 Color Stone Divine Body have reached bottlenecks, and it is difficult to improve even one step. The fastest way to improve is the 9 Nether Fire Lotus Life clone. It's time to go out and find treasures to improve the life of the 9 Nether Fire Lotus clone. Sudong's eyes condensed slightly. as long as the foundation of his 9 nether fire lotus divine body Deo Shendan is further improved, the efficiency of burning Deo essence to light up the stars will also be greatly improved. According to the current efficiency, the results that originally took 300 years to achieve can be greatly reduced if the foundation of the 9 nether fire lotus divine body Deo Shendan is improved. As long as one more star is lit up, his own strength will usher in a transformation and improvement again. He did what he said. Half a day later, Sudang sat alone in the palace with various files in his hands. Although there are 3000 era voids, they are similar. Some special regions are even more similar. The remaining 10 treasures required by the 9 nether fire lotus are all recorded. According to the 9 nether fire lotus inheritance memory and file records, as long as you find 3 secret places in the void of the Middle Ages, you can get 10 treasures. These 3 secret places are the underground immortal mansion, Fire Cloud Mountain, and 18-star palace. The 3 places are called secret places, and they are also 3 places for cultivation. Some of the cultivators are isolated from the world and full of dangers. For example, to enter the 18-star palace, it is marked that at least you must be a holy spirit. The greater the danger, the greater the opportunity. The various inherited skills, artifacts and treasures also attract many powerful people to go there. The 18-star palace is the most dangerous. Many Shura kings have fallen in the Deo mansion, but 6 of the treasures needed by my 9 nether fire lotus life are gathered there. Sudang silently memorized the various crises of the 18-star palace in his heart. Hoyan Mountain and the underground fairy are similar in danger. There are many monsters in Hoyan Mountain, and there are many restrictions in the underground fairy mansion. With my strength, Hoyan Mountain and the underground fairy mansion are not dangerous. Only the 18-star palace is a little difficult. Sudang is very confident. If it is an ordinary 9 nether fire lotus life, it may be terrified to deal with such an area, but what level is he? The 3 divine bodies, a set of artifacts, plus the star system. Going to the 18-star palace, as long as you don't seek death, it will be difficult to die. Follow the route. First break into the 18-star palace, then break into Hoyan Mountain, and finally enter the underground fairy mansion. Sudang made a decision. Leave a Dharma body in the Shura world. On the second day, he drove the spring and autumn boat and flew out of the Shura world. He had grown a lot, and he had made great progress in Buzhao Mountain. Although the secret land of the 2 worlds is vast, it is too dangerous. He encountered many changes just by staying on the Island of Kings. After that, the opportunity of the 3 life talisman world can only be entered by will. This time, guarding the void, I have the opportunity to really see this void. The 18-star palace is composed of 18 worlds. Each world is refined into a peculiar area by special techniques. It looks like stars on the outside, but like a palace on the inside. So it is called the 18-star palace. It is extremely far away from the Shura world, which is thousands of worlds away. Generally, the gods can travel for hundreds of years without any danger, and may be able to travel such a distance. The God King and the Immortal King spend decades to complete the tour, and the God Emperor and the Immortal Emperor also spend months on the road. But Sudang drives the spring and autumn boat at a normal speed, and can reach any place in the Middle Ages in less than a moment. This is the advantage of the divine object. The speed is fast enough, and it is also very safe to venture into dangerous places. I used to think about reaching the level of God Emperor and roaming the void. Sudang looked at the scene outside. There were huge worlds and brilliant lives. Every god had the idea of roaming the void, but the void was dangerous. The void god could only survive in the void. How weak Sudang was at that time. He had many ideas, but now, the void was nothing in his eyes. The strength level was different, and the vision was also different. Similarly, if he entered the 2-world galaxy again at this moment, the feeling would be different. We are here. Sudang saw shining palaces in the torrent of the outside world. There were a total of 18 towering palaces, which were also 18 worlds. The scene in each palace of the world was different. Some were towering mountains stretching for thousands of miles, and some were wide rivers. There were also human cities, where a large number of lives lived. The entire surrounding area was the scope of the 18-star palaces. What a big deal, using the world to refine the palace complex. Sudang sighed. It is said that it was left by a strong man at the level of the 10 palaces Shuriken. The void is the birthplace of the strong. Whoosh! Sudang flew towards the 3rd star palace in the spring and autumn boat. As soon as he flew over, he saw 2 immortals in long robes flying over. One on the left, and one on the right. At the same time, 2 pitch black chains burst out, and the pitch black chains exploded, and became 100 feet long. This flying boat is a treasure. Intercept it. 2 immortal emperors dare to stop me? Sudang couldn't help but smile. His spring and autumn boat is a magical object that is hidden by itself. Unless you have a very high vision, you can't see its extraordinariness. This book has been updated recently in @ update. Secondly, he was in the spring and autumn boat, and his aura was also restrained. The 2 immortal emperors dared to attack. Bang bang. The pitch black chains didn't even touch the spring and autumn boat. An invisible power shook the pitch black chains into powder. The power was transmitted along the chains, and the 2 immortal emperors were terrified, but they had no time to escape. They were also directly turned into powder. Their immortal bodies were not as strong as the chain magic weapon. Whoosh! Sudang rushed in directly. Half a day after he left, many figures appeared in many areas. All of them were cultivators at the level of God Emperor. Terrible. It must be a low-key Holy Spirit Void Ancestor. A big figure in the void. Everyone was shocked and thankful that they had not taken action before. Sudang also discovered them, but they had no hatred or resentment, and they did not offend him, so Sudang would naturally not kill them at will. The spring and autumn boat rushed directly into the 3rd star palace. There was a raging flame floating in the star palace, and there were bridges in the flames. Generally, the adventurers traveled on the bridges, but Sudang drove the spring and autumn boat directly over the flames. It also attracted the attention of many cultivators. In this 3rd star palace, there is a sea of flames, in which there are the fire lotus roots, the fire turtle crystals, and the fire dragon blood crystals that I need. Sudang's holy spirit law spread out, spreading and penetrating everywhere, and soon rushed into a raging sea of fire. The sea of fire was endless. The fire lotus roots were okay, but they were relatively rare. There are fewer little black turtle crystals and fire dragon crystals. There is only 1 in hundreds of black tortoises or fire dragons, and Sudang needs more than a small amount. In a hidden corner of the endless sea of fire, there is a void temple, and a figure is sitting in the temple. Wait for another prey, a little fatter, and I will have enough treasures for the temple to refine. There are flaming wings behind this figure. The face is also very beautiful, but the cold light flashes in the eyes, which makes people shudder. Alas, Dantian feels that the 3rd update will still be criticized for being water. What should I do? Chapter 717 Sea of Fire. She is the master of the Void Temple, Mingayan, who hunts here. The Sea of Fire is full of dangers. Sudang flew over an area in the spring and autumn boat. Boom. In the hazy sea of fire, a towering monster hundreds of feet tall emerged, with flames flowing all over its body and ferocious scales under the flames. As soon as it emerged, the beast looked over with bloodthirsty eyes, and swung its claws directly at the spring and autumn boat. The terrifying power was like a volcanic eruption. The spring and autumn boat was covered with streams of light, which easily resisted the claw. The power exploded and rolled in all directions. In an instant, a depression appeared in this area of the sea of fire, and the flames surged into the sky. Fire beast. In the spring and autumn boat, Sudang's 2 divine bodies stood. Since entering the sea of fire, the 9 nether fire lotus divine body appeared, looking at the flame beast outside. The flame beast was fierce and powerful, but the 9 nether fire lotus's handsome face showed a smile. The figure flashed. The 9 nether fire lotus divine body was surrounded by purple flames, and it appeared directly outside the spring and autumn boat. You dare to sneak attack me? The 9 nether fire lotus divine body pointed out. A purple flame light like the destruction of the world instantly burst out, and the purple flames were radiant and quite dazzling. The head of the fire god beast was triangular, and there was a look of fear on the triangular head. Then it was instantly pierced by the purple flame. The 9 nether fire lotus divine body waved its hand, and the huge body of the fire god beast instantly fell apart, revealing a divine bead. The divine bead sank into the palm of the 9 nether fire lotus divine body, and turned into pure divine fire energy, that penetrated into Sudang's body. Suddenly, a pure flame divine power filled the limbs and bones of Sudong's divine body. The entire 9 nether fire lotus divine body quietly changed. This sea of fire is indeed the most suitable treasure land for the 9 nether fire lotus divine body to practice. Sudong stood above the sea of fire. If other lives entered the sea of fire, their divine bodies would be weaker and would be easily burned to ashes. Only a strong divine body dares to enter. If you stay in for a long time, you will feel uncomfortable. But the 9 nether fire lotus divine body is different. Sudong only feels extremely comfortable, just like a fish entering the water, extremely carefree and free, and a trace of flame energy penetrates into the 9 nether fire lotus divine body. Sudong can feel the improvement of his own divine body, carefree and warm. There is also the essence of the creatures in the flames for him to devour. The fire god beast is one of the top beasts in the sea of flames. The fire god pearl condensed in its body is a great supplement to the life of the 9 nether fire lotus. The deeper the sea of flames, the purer the flames. Sudong's 9 nether fire lotus divine body can't wait to rush directly into the sea of flames below. The purer the flames, the faster his 9 nether fire lotus divine body will improve. Rushing into this sea of flames, the warm and comfortable feeling almost makes the 9 nether fire lotus divine body feel obsessed, extremely comfortable. Sudong felt that the flames around him were not exploding flames, but extremely gentle water drops. Countless water drops moistened every part of his divine body, penetrated his skin, and entered his body, and the 9 nether fire lotus mark on his forehead radiated a joyful light, continuously improving, continuously nourishing. The 9 nether fire lotus divine body seemed to be sublimating in the sea of fire. Is that a fire lotus root? And a fire dragon? Sudong's eyes lit up, and the Holy Spirit law covered the surroundings, and he easily found the blooming flame lotus leaves in the sea of fire. The flame lotus leaves were all red, and there were lotus roots in the lotus, emitting a strange divine light. Surrounding it was a red dragon snake. The snake's tongue was swallowing, which was quite fascinating. The 9 nether fire lotus divine body floated over in an instant, and the moment the Holy Spirit law covered it, the swimming body of the fire dragon solidified. Then a wisp of purple divine fire floated over, and the fire dragon instantly shattered. A wisp of flame essence emerged, but no fire dragon crystal appeared. Sudong waved his palm, and put away the fire lotus root, and the wisp of flame essence was directly swallowed. Although there is no fire dragon crystal, there is only one fire dragon crystal in an average of 100 fire dragons. This is the first one Sudong hunted, so there is no rush. After the fire lotus root was fully absorbed by the body, it was immediately wrapped by the 9 nether divine fire. Sudong immediately refined the fire lotus root. As soon as it was refined, an astonishing divine fire energy flowed into every cell of the 9 nether fire lotus. Although it was very small, Sudong was the first to notice that with the swallowing of this divine fire energy, the Dao Shendan and the Dantian of the 9 nether fire lotus divine body suddenly had a slight change. The foundation of the Dao Shendan of the 9 nether fire lotus life is too poor. The foundation needs to be made up. Just stay in this sea of fire for a while, collecting treasures while absorbing flame energy. Sudong said silently. Of course, as time goes by, the improvement of flame energy to his divine body will become smaller and smaller. The 9 nether fire lotus divine body is cultivating here, and my touch divine body can also explore this sea of fire. It is said that the flames in the core area of the sea of fire are terrifying, and even the Holy Spirit Zuzu can hardly resist it. There are many legends about the secret place, and Sudong is also curious. Without hesitation, Sudong Tuyoshi's divine body drove the spring and autumn boat to continue flying towards the center of the sea of flames. Sometimes, he could still vaguely feel that there were holy spirits lurking in some hidden corners, but they did not interfere with each other. The holy spirits fought and killed each other. They would only take action when they were sure. Who would fight for no reason if they were not sure? They were not crazy. Swish, the spring and autumn boat rushed in. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. Sudong's 9 nether fire lotus divine body wandered freely in the sea of flames. It was in the void temple not far from here. What a fast speed. Palace Master Ming Yan saw a stream of light directly across the sky above the sea of flames and rushed towards the center. She saw clearly that the stream of light was a wooden boat. the divine wooden boat, driving the divine object. To break into the 18-star palace must be a big shot in the void. Palace Master Ming Yan sighed secretly. As a palace master of the void god court, she still had some knowledge. To have a divine object must be a big shot. Among the whole masters who guarded this void in the void divine court, only the 5-dragon godlord had a flying divine object. The 5-dragon godlord was the strongest person in the void divine court in this void. The value of the divine object was too high, beyond her imagination. Hall Master Mingyan restrained her aura from a distance, and did not dare to provoke it. Then, she saw the 9 nether fire lotus Sudang wandering freely in the sea of flames. That divine body, such a pure divine fire aura. Hall Master Mingyan's cold eyes suddenly burst into spirit. Her original body was a divine fire swallow monster, and she liked to devour innate flame creatures to improve her bloodline. The bloodline of the 9 nether fire lotus divine body was so precious, it was at the top level of the divine emperor and immortal emperor. Opportunity, this is my great opportunity. Hall Master Mingyan rushed out of the void divine court at the first time. She took action. An innate creature becomes a holy spirit, and the innate magical power alone is terrifyingly strong. Ordinary holy spirits dare not provoke it, but I was born in the void divine court, and my Taoism must be better than yours. Hall Master Mingyan was full of confidence. Let the soul attack you first. Whoosh. The invisible soul attack spread directly over. She thought very well. For ordinary innate creatures, the soul is a weakness. Sudang's 9 nether fire lotus clone practiced silently. Just now, Tuosh's divine body passed by. Is that the void temple? Sharing the core will, the 9 nether fire lotus clone naturally discovered the void temple in the corner a long time ago. But he didn't care. Then he felt a shock in his soul. Dare to attack me? You're looking for death. Sudang's 9 nether fire lotus clone's eyes suddenly turned cold, and the purple 9 nether divine fire soared into the sky. It turned into a purple fire dragon and instantly killed the Mingyan palace master who was rushing over. Chapter 718 9 nether fire dragon. Hold on. Whoosh. The heart of the Mingyan palace master who was rushing forward quickly jumped. Her soul attack secret method came from the void divine court. What is the void divine court best at? Sneak attack, assassination, plunder. Soul attack is most suitable for sneak attack. So every palace master is good at soul attack, but her soul attack method hit the flame creature, and the latter did not react at all. How could she not be shocked? Although Sudang's 9 nether fire lotus divine body did not have a body protection artifact, just lighting up 7 stars alone allowed Sudang to improve in all aspects. Soul is also one of them, and the improvement is huge. Just talking about the realm, it is much higher than that of the Mingyan palace master. A little soul attack only alerted Sudang. The purple fire dragon soared into the sky, and the red wings behind the Mingyan palace master flapped, and she appeared in the sky above the sea of fire in a flash, and then a large seal appeared in her hand, and the seal was glowing with fire. At the moment, when the purple fire dragon came, she sacrificed the seal in her hand, and the seal collided with the purple fire dragon. Boom. 9 nether divine fire, burn. Sudang snorted coldly. In the past 3 years, although his swordsmanship has not improved much, the 9 nether fire lotus has improved a lot in terms of divine fire. You should know that most of the time in these 3 years Sudang has been practicing in the eternal space with time decelerated 100 times. The few days left out of the 100-fold deceleration are equivalent to Sudang's practice for more than 200 years. The 9 nether fire lotus's perception of the way of divine fire is to heaven defying. In addition to the inherited memory and Sudang's own perception of the way, in terms of the attack method of the 9 nether fire lotus's divine body, in addition to the inherited magic art of the divine fire 10,000 tribulations finger, Sudang also realized 2 magic arts. One is the 9 nether fire dragon, and the other is the divine fire burning the sky. Both are based on the 9 nether divine fire and trigger terrifying power. The 9 nether fire dragon is more powerful, and the fire dragon formed is ridiculously powerful. A collision. The purple fire dragon directly enveloped the seal. Then the seal shattered directly. Puff. The pretty face of the Mingyan palace master turned pale, and she spat out a mouthful of divine blood. The divine weapon is connected to the master's mind. If the divine weapon is broken, the master will be attacked. So strong. The Mingyuan Palace Master was horrified. She knew the 9 nether divine fire, but the magic amplification was so strong that it could even shatter the divine weapon. Ordinary divine weapons are not as strong as my Tush divine body. Sudong watched the seal shatter directly, his face full of calmness. As the strength increases, the divine body improves. Sudong's super Tush divine body has long surpassed ordinary divine weapons. For example, many Shura kings who are good at divine bodies encountered in the peak competition also have divine bodies that surpass divine weapons. Ordinary divine weapons will be broken when they touch the divine body. Only purgatory divine weapons, inherited divine weapons, and epic divine weapons can cause damage. This is why the value of ordinary divine weapons will decrease as the strength increases. At the level of the 10 palaces Shura kings and the dominant kings, ordinary artifacts are useless, and even the purgatory artifact, a unique artifact, will be eliminated. Spare my life. Spare my life. The master of Mingyuan Palace exclaimed when her artifact seal was broken. Her divine body was ordinary, and if the 9 nether divine fire burned her, she would not be able to resist it. Destroy. Sudong waved his hand, and the 9 nether fire dragon immediately flew away with its fangs and claws, rushing towards the girl with wings on her back without stopping. Senior, spare my life. The master of Mingyuan Palace begged for mercy urgently. She was born pretty, and she was more skilled at seduction as a monster. After becoming a holy spirit, she was even more charming. Many powerful people in the void have the hobby of collecting some beautiful women and demons. She hoped that Sudong would be soft-hearted and let her go. What a pity. The 9 nether fire dragon rushed to the divine body of the master of Mingyuan Palace without stopping, and the terrifying power burst out. Boom. The whole divine body of the master of Mingyuan Palace burned. Puff. The divine body was broken. His robes, artifacts, and storage magic treasures were all broken, and many items were scattered and flying. Then a tiny soul suddenly flew out, and the soul was shaped like a flying swallow. There was also a river of Daoyun around it. The Daoyun was breaking. You are so cruel. The flying swallow soul transformed by the master of Mingyuan Palace gave Sudong a fierce look below, and then a temple suddenly appeared, covering it. Boom, boom, boom. The 9 nether fire dragon continued to attack, and the void temple was constantly hit and burned. Bang. In the end, the temple was broken in half, and flew away with difficulty. Sudong's 9 nether fire lotus divine body flew out of the sea of flames. Silently watch the void temple leave. In terms of attack and killing, the 9 nether divine fire, even if it is a 9 nether fire dragon, the divine fire 10,000 tribulations finger, which is as powerful as a sword technique of the Tuosh divine body. Sudong shook his head. As for the other divine fire burning the sky, it is a field consumption method. This book has been updated recently in #at. Update. If Tush's divine body was there just now, even though it was across the void temple, it would have killed the void palace master Yuanshan with one sword. Void palace master, you are in a dangerous place, and the void temple is indeed a treasure that can save your life. I will spare your life today. Sudong turned around and waved his hand to collect many treasures. Among them, many storage bags, many strange artifacts and robes were all looted by Mingyuan Palace Master. After collecting them, he casually explored them. Sudong's 9 nether fire lotus divine body's eyes suddenly lit up. Fire lotus root, fire dragon crystal, black tortoise crystal, all kinds of unique treasures in this sea of fire are huge. Haha, it's really easy to get them. Sudong laughed. Mingyuan Palace Master is also a monster who walks the flame path. He has been dormant in the sea of fire for a long time. I don't know how many strong people he has robbed, and he will collect many treasures when he has nothing to do, so he has gathered so many. It saved Sudong a lot of trouble. The 9 nether fire lotus swallowed them all, and continued to immerse himself in the sea of fire. How did he cultivate a congenital creature that became a holy spirit and had such a powerful magic? The master of Mingyuan Palace fled in panic. A slender and charming figure condensed in the void temple. But at this moment, her face was full of fear. Not only did he ignore her soul attack, but she also launched a magic weapon to attack, and the magic weapon was blasted head on. This is not at the same level at all. The gap is too big. They are both holy spirits, but the gap is so big. Weird. Such a powerful congenital creature suddenly appeared. Which powerful person from the void is he? Relying on his own practice? It is impossible to be so strong. Unless it is cultivated by a big force, and the congenital creature with such a high bloodline level, it is destined to be fought over by various forces as soon as it is born. She didn't know that she wanted to snatch the commander-in-chief of the Shuriken who guarded the void in Huangquan Daofu. Mingayan Palace drove the master of the Void Temple without stopping and kept moving forward, rushing straight out of the 12-star palaces. A dangerous place is a dangerous place. I relied on my cultivation and the Void Temple and was too careless. Palace Master Mingayan shook her head. She saved her life this time, and she would not come to this dangerous place again for a long time in the future. Sudong Tuosh Divine Body controlled the spring and autumn boat to fly. The palace masters of this Void Temple are really the same. He chuckled, and then didn't care, and continued to fly in the sea of fire. The deeper you go, the higher the temperature of the flames. The flames also gradually change from the initial red to chrysanthemum yellow, light blue, blue, and finally purple. Almost close to the center of the sea of fire, a twisted altar stood in the center of the purple sea of fire. The spring and autumn boat slowly stopped above the purple sea of fire. Tuosh Divine Body stood in the flying boat, silently looking at the altar in front. Chapter 719, Treasures Gathered. What a huge altar, it's as big as the Sunday. Sudong was standing in the spring and autumn boat, looking at the twisted altar in the distance. The distortion was because the flames were too warm, burning and melting the space, and the light could not be transmitted normally, so it looked crooked, and Sudong's vision was quite high. He had been to the huge void of the Two Realms galaxy. He had also experienced the world of divine objects such as the Three Life Talisman, and his core will was more integrated into the origin of the operation of the void in the mountain and sea realm, but he was still shocked to see such an altar at this moment. It was too big. He said the size of the sun. It meant the size of the sun itself, not the size of the sky when standing on land, but the diameter of more than 1 million kilometers. For such a large altar, the spring and autumn boat driven by Sudong was like a fly in front of it. The void was mysterious and endless, and one could always glimpse the great side. Go and have a look. Sudong urged the spring and autumn boat to get closer. The spring and autumn boat was a top divine object that was good at defense, and its defense was amazing. The flames outside were raging, but Sudong stood in the spring and autumn boat, surrounded by flowing light, and the power of the flames could not penetrate. In fact, when the color of the flame in the sea of fire turned purple, the power reached the level of the power of the Holy Spirit in the initial stage of the Dao, that is, the 7th level. The deeper you go, the higher the temperature of the flame, and the more terrifying the power. When you reach the altar area, it reaches the 8th level. Even if Sudong is a super touch divine body, the strength of the divine body has reached the level of a divine weapon, and he dares not touch the power of this flame. It is because of the strength of the spring and autumn boat that he dares to approach. I chose the spring and autumn boat divine object in the beginning because I wanted to venture into some secret and dangerous places. If there was no spring and autumn boat, I would not dare to approach this altar. Sudong sighed. The power of the flame was too terrifying. When it reached the edge of the altar, the flame turned completely black, and the altar also turned black. The spring and autumn boat stayed at the edge of the altar and stopped moving forward. What a terrible temperature. When I reached the surroundings of this black flame, I felt the heat in the spring and autumn boat. Sudong's eyes flickered. Feeling the heat proved that the spring and autumn boat had reached the limit of its defense. If he went deeper, if the spring and autumn boat was damaged, Sudong would be distressed. Let's stay here. I'm just a speck of dust on the altar of 1,000,000 kilometers. I don't know if there is any life. Sudong tried to radiate the law of the Holy Spirit, but the terrifying power of the flame directly suppressed his law of the Holy Spirit. The law is the manifestation of the power reaching a certain level to suppress the way of opening the sky. If the power exceeds too much, it can completely suppress the law. The power of the black flame on the altar is much greater than Sudong's power. Even if the star power is called upon, it is still impossible to resist. The power of this black flame has reached at least level 10. Sudong wiped the sweat from his forehead with his palm. After all, the Tuosh divine body is a flesh body. No matter how strong it is a flesh body. Unlike the 9 Nether Fire Lotus Divine Body, the origin of the 9 Nether Divine Fire, the 10th level of power is the power of the 19 Crown Shuriken. If there is life, how strong would it be? There was no figure in the surrounding thousands of miles anyway, and it was him who dared to go so deep with the spring and autumn boat. The heat wave rolled, causing the Tuosh Divine Body to emit divine light to resist. My Tush body hates it, but the 9 Nether Fire Lotus body might like it. Sudong's heart moved slightly. Wow. The 9 Nether Fire Lotus body was originally wandering slowly outside the sea of flames, but suddenly it turned into a purple flame and flew straight to the center of the sea of flames. However, just after flying over the purple flame area, after rushing through the purple flame area, my 9 Nether Fire Lotus body feels a little uncomfortable. Before rushing to the altar, Sudong drove the spring and autumn boat back to pick up the 9 Nether Fire Lotus body. Although it is an innate flame creature, the power of the flame is too strong, and it can't withstand it. As soon as the 9 Nether Fire Lotus body entered the spring and autumn boat, all the discomfort disappeared. When it flew to the altar again, the 9 Nether Fire Lotus body exuded clusters of purple fire lotus. The flame lotus was beautiful and slowly rotated. What a pure flame power. The 9 Nether Fire Lotus body showed joy. Just like the star power is one level higher than the Holy Spirit power, the flame power in this area is also higher than the 9 Nether Fire Lotus's 9 Nether Fire. The will didn't feel anything when it saw it, but the divine body felt strange when it came over. Under the influence of this pure divine flame, I feel that my perception speed of the way of divine fire has increased a lot. Sudong's 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body praised his 9 Nether Fire Lotus's innate magical power. The 9 Nether Fire origin felt faintly growing in this altar area. Good place, good place. Sudong's Tuoshi divine body also nodded. He just wanted to fill the foundation of the 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body. Only when the foundation is improved can the foundation of the Tao be deeper, and the level of the Tao God Pearl will be higher. Practice here. The 9 Nether Fire Lotus sat cross-legged directly in the spring and autumn boat. Sudong's Tuoshi divine body was put into the core data space. There was no way. The temperature was too high. The 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body liked it, but his Tuoshi flesh body hated it. Immersed in the perception of the great Dao of divine fire, the altar was 1,000,000 kilometers wide, and the black flames were constantly floating. Flames, explosions, swift. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. Sudong's perception of the great Dao of divine fire was rapidly improving. This dead altar area has completely become the exclusive place for Sudong's 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body to practice. The 9 Nether Fire Lotus life is obsessed with this place. After practicing for half a month, the 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body drove the spring and autumn boat to send Sudong's Tuoshi divine body out, and then drove the spring and autumn boat into the altar area to continue practicing. That altar area is suitable for the 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body to practice, but not for my Tuoshi divine body and the 5-color stone clone. Sudong's Tuoshi divine body, dressed in a white robe, stood outside the flame sea, and then a colorful divine light shot out from his brows. The colorful divine light fell in front and turned into a burly figure 7 feet tall, dressed in a black robe. There is a 5-colored stone mark on the forehead, and the divine light that makes people feel palpitations and oppression is floating around the body. I will cultivate the 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body, and the 2 divine bodies will go to find many treasures. On that day, Sudong's Tuosh divine body and the 5-colored stone clone separated. They searched for the other 3 treasures in the 18-star palace separately. They also collected them one by one. Although the core data space cannot directly transfer the divine body now, sharing items has been possible for a long time. After sharing the 3 treasures with the 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body, the 2 divine bodies separated again. Tuosh divine body explored Hoyan Mountain, and the 5-colored stone clone went to the underground immortal mansion. The distance between the 2 was different, and Tuosh divine body was faster than the 5-colored stone clone. The 5-colored stone clone entered the underground immortal mansion because it was the safest secret place and easily obtained many treasures. After obtaining the treasures and sharing them with the 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body, they then gathered towards the Tuosh divine body. Tuosh divine body entered Oyan Mountain and obtained 2 kinds of rare treasures needed by the 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body. He also accidentally discovered a strange area, but it was full of dangers. Just approaching, the terrifying power of the terrain exploded directly, and the sky-high flames burned the sky, and Tuosh divine body retreated directly. Only vaguely, Sudang saw many lives walking in the flames. It was quite strange. There is endless fun in the void. 26 years later, in the Shura world, Empress King invited. The Holy Spirit Conference is held once every 60 years, and this time it is Empress King's turn to host it. Sudang sat in the commander's palace, holding a gold-plated invitation, and smiled. The lord of the mansion next to him also smiled. The Holy Spirit Conference is a gathering of the entire Void Holy Spirit level, and the leaders of the major forces will naturally be present. As the commander-in-chief of the Shura King, Sudang naturally had to represent the Huangquandao mansion. The third update. Chapter 720 Holy Spirit Conference. Sudang had also heard of this Empress King. Empress King was a saint who became famous earlier in the Void during the Middle Ages. She was tens of millions of years old. She was named Empress King because of her passionate and emotional character. Although Empress King's strength was average, she liked to make friends with strong people and had a wide network of contacts. I have been practicing for 26 years, and this is the first time that the Holy Spirits have gathered. Sudang put away the invitation. The Lord of the Palace also nodded. The Void of One Era is not big, but it is not small either. There are more than 1,000 Holy Spirit Void Ancestors. There are not many opportunities for so many Holy Spirits to gather together. Will the Grand Commander attend? Over the years, the Lord of the Palace has understood Sudang's temperament. Sudang was too lazy to care about some mundane matters, and was immersed in cultivation. He turned a blind eye to many disputes and frictions between his subordinates. After all, they are all strong people who have cultivated to the level of Holy Spirits. Who doesn't have some selfishness? If you manage them too rigidly and strictly, you will be asking for trouble. He doesn't like crowds, and likes to practice alone. Many commanders have some understanding of their commander's temperament. Go, of course I have to go. Sudang smiled. The 5 dragon gods of the Void God Court and the JWO Bodhisattva of the Eternal Buddha realm are going. How can I not go on behalf of Huangquandao Fu? The Holy Spirit Conference invites some famous Holy Spirit Void Ancestors in the Void. Some people who are not well known or too weak are not qualified to come. Being invited to the Holy Spirit Conference is also a symbol of status. The Holy Spirit Conference will be held in a month. Now the Lord of the Mansion can handle some trivial matters in the Shura world, and Sudang will focus most of his energy on cultivation. Late at night, Sudang sat cross-legged in the palace alone, and the core data space will was immersed in the Dantian. 3 major divine bodies, 3 Dao Shendan, among which the Super Tush divine body Dao Shendan is the largest. Now it is the size of a Langan, and after the foundation of the 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body is perfected, the volume of the Dao Shendan also returned to normal, reaching the size of a thumb, and the smallest is the 5 color stone clone. However, this is the foundation of the Dao essence. In terms of divine bodies, the Black Mountain Flowing Wave divine body is still terrifying enough. Since the foundation of the 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body was perfected, my efficiency in burning the Dao essence has increased by at least 50%. After 26 years of continuous burning of the Dao essence, this 8th star is finally about to light up. Sudang's core will tuck shape, looking at the bright star map that appeared in the Dantian mobile phone. The 8th star has been mostly lit up, and only a few tiny corners are left to light up 26 years of time, burning the Dao essence again and again. That is, he has a deep foundation, so he can withstand it. Burn again. Sudang's will move slightly, and the Dao essence rivers in the Dantian of the 3 divine bodies were cut off at the same time, and they burned with a bang, refining their own Dao Shendan. Suddenly, the divine clouds filled the sky, and the blazing divine light sank into the 8th star. It has been burning for more than an hour. The Tuosh divine body burned 1/3 of the Dao essence, the 5-colored stone divine body burned 2/5 of the Dao essence, and the 9 Nether Fire Lotus divine body was the most outrageous, nearly burning 2/3 of the Dao essence. Buzz buzz buzz. The 8th star in the star map became brighter and brighter, emitting dazzling divine light, and the majestic power spread out. Sudan felt his heart tremble. Lighting up one of the stars in the star map would bring about an all-round transformation of one's own strength. This is a qualitative change. It's almost there, and it will take only one more burn to light up the 8th star. Sudan's mind left Dantian, and then Tuosha's divine body entered the eternal space. An ordinary divine longsword appeared in his hand, and he concentrated his mind and began to practice swordsmanship. For 26 years, Sudan practiced swordsmanship almost every day in the eternal time and space with 100 times time deceleration. In total, it has been nearly 2000 years. Although the time flow rate in the void in the Middle Ages was much faster than that in the void of the mountain and sea realm, more than 2000 years still allowed Sudan's swordsmanship to be elevated to a new level. Swish. Sudan swung his sword, and a somewhat dark sword light floated out, like a suppressed volcano, containing unparalleled power. The 10th level of the heavenly sword technique, the blood blade of the demon prison. I have already mastered the original sword manual, but I have only touched the edge of the 10th level. The sword light flashed across the eternal space, and the power went from bursting to dissipating. As Sudan's sword technique unfolded, the power became more and more terrifying, as if the eternal space was completely immersed in a world of swords. The sword light whistled and spread. Faintly, a long sword that soared into the sky was faintly condensed behind Sudan, and the power was terrifying at a glance. Rumble. 1 day, 2 days, 10 days, 30 days, about 100 days, passed in the eternal space. Very abruptly, the sword light disappeared. Sudan's figure stood there. The powerful divine body faintly emitted divine light, and his eyes were closed. After a long time of comprehension, he slowly opened his eyes. It's difficult. It's really difficult. I even fused 3 new sword techniques with the Yama sword, and I also have new experiences in the 3-Lev Sutra, but I can't break through the last step of the 10th level of the heavenly sword technique. Sudan retracted his palm, and the long sword also dissipated. This book was recently updated on #@. Update. After more than 2000 years of practice, his progress is terrifying, but the difficulty of Xian Wei Xian sword skill is even more outrageous. Super strong men such as King Yama have all recognized that, if you don't reach the Daoxuan realm, you can't practice to the 10th level. Sudan was silent. The improvement of Tao is equally difficult. Although the power of his star system has now reached the threshold of the Daoxuan realm, but the implementation of the way of death or the comprehension and integration of the way of life cannot be achieved overnight. Only when you reach the Daoxuan realm can you practice to the 10th level, and the 11th level is also expected. The real 12th level, that is the perfect level of Tao dare to touch. Once you practice to the 12th level of Xian Wei Xian, the power of the sword skill alone can make Sudan comparable to the level of King Shura of Yama Palace. Under the Domination King, it can be said to be invincible. Of course, the difficulty is terrifyingly high. In the Middle Ages, there were countless strange areas in the void, such as the 18-star palace, Fire Cloud Mountain, and the underground fairy palace, which were considered secret places. However, the predecessors of the secret places were mostly caves of some powerful people, or the remains of the great forces after their demise. Some powerful people prefer to occupy the secret places in the void, and develop them into their own residences. The Wanhu realm, where Lady King is located, is such a strange area. The Wanhu realm was originally the core of a sect called Wanhu, a sect tens of millions of years ago. Later, the sect was destroyed, and this area became a land without an owner. However, after all, it was the location of the sect, and there were many opportunities left here, which attracted many god kings, immortal kings, god emperors, etc. to explore. Later, Lady King rose to power and occupied the Wanhu realm, which became her own cave. There are 10 great worlds in the Wanhu realm. Don't look around. Today is a day when Lady King holds the Holy Spirit Conference. Many powerful Holy Spirits will come. If you anger anyone, no one will protect you. A beautiful goddess scolded many fairies. Yes, yes. All the beautiful fairies nodded respectfully. Being able to worship under the tutelage of Lady King proved that they were all talented. But facing the powerful Holy Spirit in the void, they were naturally afraid. However, it was still possible to communicate secretly. I heard that the strongest person in the void is the three-eyed real person. I can meet the three-eyed real person today. I want to meet the 5 dragon gods. The top powerhouses of the big forces are usually not available. Being able to meet the powerful people in the void may bring an opportunity, which is also what each of them desires in their hearts. Chapter 721 5 Dragon Gods. Among the fairies, a fairy in white robe whispered quietly, "Sister Lan, which holy spirit do you want to see the most?" "Me. I want to see Commander Sudang." The fairy with a bright smile said shyly. All the fairies looked at her immediately. The Shura King Sudang who crossed the Yellow Springs Road 1,000 years ago. The current Xiangquan realm is protected by the Shura King Sudang, right? He is a top genius, and I heard that he doesn't have a Taoist partner yet. He was a genius before, and now he is an unparalleled strong man. They excitedly whispered and discussed. Over the years, Sudang has also appeared several times, so naturally the reputation of Commander Shura King has spread throughout the void. 4,000 years ago, I was just an ordinary celestial being, and he was a top genius at that time. After seeing him crossing the Yellow Springs Road, I fell in love with him. The fairy called Sister Lan covered her heart. The Queen of Love is very affectionate and the many female disciples under her are even more indulgent. As long as they are moved, she will not stop them. Even many of her cultivation methods are related to love. Many other fairies were also tempted. Sudang is now a hot commodity. Other top masters either have many wives and concubines or many Taoist partners. Only Sudang has never heard that this genius has a Taoist partner. It is only heard that many goddesses on Mount Busao have secretly shown their affection to Sudang, but King Shura did not respond. It can be seen how difficult it is to win his favor. It is almost noon in the Wanhu realm. Here we come. Be respectful. In the Wanhu realm, the core of the world, a rainbow bridge is suspended in the sky. On both sides of the rainbow bridge, beautiful fairies respectfully salute and welcome these powerful holy spirits in the void. Lady Love also flew out early. Streams of light flashed by. The first to appear was a tall and thin figure. He carried an ancient longsword on his back, wore a green robe, and had a handsome face, but there was a vertical pupil between his eyebrows, and golden thunder flashed between the opening and closing of the vertical pupil. "Brother Sanayan," Empress King said enthusiastically. Sanayan Zenran was a casual cultivator in the Middle Ages. Not only was he extremely powerful, but he also integrated many casual cultivators to form a force. Many cultivators respected him. Sudang also read the description of Sanayan Zenran in the Daofu intelligence. He was low-key and extremely powerful. You can imagine how powerful he was if he could be described as extremely powerful by the Daofu intelligence. Sanayan Zenran nodded. Boom. A majestic dragon shadow followed Sanayan Zenran's arrival. Cracks appeared in the space behind him, and a huge green dragon phantom appeared faintly. The green dragon was lifelike, with 5 claws under its ribs, and it was extremely noble. There were 9 figures following behind it, all of them were powerful holy spirits. Empress King, the fairies in your Wanhu realm are becoming more and more charming. A tall and handsome holy spirit walked out of the green dragon phantom. He had 2 golden dragon horns on his forehead, and the dragon horns pierced the sky, adding a bit of noble atmosphere. Domineering and noble. The fairies around him dared not look up at him. Dragons are lustful by nature. The 5 dragon god was born in the demon clan. He has noble blood, even higher than the great light god Killin, and he is very high profile. He represents the void god court, to guard the void in the Middle Ages. He is very domineering. As long as my disciples are willing, the god can take whoever he likes. The colorful light is surrounded by the Love Queen. It is gorgeous and moving, and her appearance is even more charming. Standing there, the whole world seems to be dimmed. Who is unwilling? The 5 dragon god smiled and looked at the fairies around him. Many fairies lowered their heads. There were some who looked up secretly, obviously quite moved. Although the 5 dragon god was domineering, he was still good to his Taoist partner. If he could really be accepted into his tent, it would be a good thing. The Love Queen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Are the people from Huangquan Daofu here? The 5 dragon god asked. There was already a gap between the void god court and the Yellow Spring Dao mansion. Originally, the two major sects were fighting each other, and they cooperated with each other because of the suppression of the purgatory. If there was no purgatory, I'm afraid that the void god caught in the Yellow Spring Deo mansion would fight even more miserably. The eternal Buddha realm was aloof and stayed out of it. You come in first. Lady King shook her head and stepped forward in person. The three-eyed real man was indifferent, and the five-dragon god lord was domineering. They all flew towards the palace. After a while, many holy spirits flew over. These holy spirits all held invitations to verify their identities. They just entered the 10,000 flowers realm. They have some reputation in the void, but they are naturally inferior to the big forces. Even many holy spirits came today, just to make friends with these big men. After a cup of tea, boom, a figure sitting on the golden lotus platform. The body is shrouded in golden light and fell from the sky. This book has been updated recently in .. Update. Lady King came out to greet them again. Disciple pays respect to the Bodhisattva. She bowed respectfully. Thank you, Madam King. Uluo Bodhisattva waved. He flew straight in, and Madam King became even more respectful. Many fairies in the Wanhu realm whispered to each other. It is said that Madam King had experienced countless hardships when she was young. Thanks to the guidance and rescue of the Buddha Bodhisattva of the eternal Buddha realm, she survived several times. Although she had no chance to join the Buddhist sect, Madam King always regarded herself as a Buddhist disciple. She was kind and generous, and accumulated a lot of connections for herself. After Uluo Bodhisattva, many holy spirits passed by. Finally, several figures flew into the vast world of Wanhu realm. Many holy spirits who arrived in Wanhu realm looked back, and many fairies also looked over. Flying in the front was a young man wearing a white divine robe, with the Shura mark on his forehead flashing with divine light. His eyes were also cold, and the sharp murderous aura made people feel terrified, even if they were thousands of miles apart. There were several figures beside him. One was the elegant and gentle lord of the mansion. Another was the tall bull-headed Shura King. There was also the horse-faced Shura King, the two-headed Shura King. Is that Sudang Shura King? So handsome. Many fairies were excited. He was powerful, had a strong background, and had even greater potential. Countless fairies were excited. The fairy called Lanmei was trembling with excitement. In fact, it was hard for Sudang not to be handsome when standing with these bull-headed and horse-faced Shura King commanders. The fairies of the 10,000 flowers realm are indeed beautiful and charming. The bull-headed Shura King chuckled. Bull-headed, restrain yourself and don't embarrass the great commander. And Shura King next to him said. Now Sudang's deterrence among these commanders is extremely high. Great Commander Sudang, Lord of the Mansion. Empress King flew out of the palace to greet him personally. Empress King. Sudang also looked at the flying female saint and bowed. The amazing charm of Empress King made him admire her. This Empress King must have achieved a high level in the way of lust. Commander-in-Chief Sudang. The last time I saw you was in the Battle of Huangquan. In that battle, Commander-in-Chief Sudang astonished the void. Sure enough, within 1,000 years, the god of the past has become the Commander-in-Chief today. Empress King smiled respectfully. I'm afraid that in another 1,000 years, there will be a strong man who can truly shock the void in our medieval void. The road of cultivation is long, and I'm just an ordinary cultivator. Sudang shook his head. Commander-in-Chief is too modest. Coming quickly. Empress King hurriedly welcomed Sudang and others into the palace. The lord of the mansion and many Shura Kings beside him stood behind Sudang obediently. Empress King saw it in her eyes and secretly thought that this Shura King Sudang could hold the position of the Commander-in-Chief firmly, which was even more extraordinary. Entering the palace. Everyone is a strong holy spirit, so naturally there is no restriction, and drinking and discussing the Tao are all very casual. The five dragon gods sat on a cloud and drank fine wine, and his eyes looked at Sudang who walked into the palace. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 722 Can't drink more than him. Commander, be careful of the five dragon lords. As soon as Sudang entered the hall, the voice of the lord of the mansion sounded in his ears. 5 dragon lords? Sudang's heart moved slightly, and his eyes turned inside the hall. The hall was called a palace, but it was like the sky, filled with clouds and mist, and the divine light was lingering. Many holy spirits were either sitting on the clouds, or standing in the rosy clouds, drinking and discussing the Tao. The status in the hall was also clear. Sitting at the highest point in the hall were the 3-eyed immortal, the 5 dragon lords, and the JWO Bodhisattva. These 3 also represented the 3 giants of the void in the Middle Ages. The 5 dragon lords were looking over here. Under the noble dragon horns, a pair of majestic eyes were curiously examining him. The 2 looked at each other, and the 5 dragon lords' eyes lit up. Sudang glanced and retracted his gaze. The Void Temple has always been at odds with us. This time when we see the commander, they will definitely make things difficult. The bull-headed Azura King said in a voice transmission. What are you afraid of? The commander may not be as strong as him, but he has the protection of the body artifact, so he doesn't need to be afraid. Sudang smiled. The subordinates next to him were really straightforward, saying directly that he was not as strong as the 5 dragon lord. Sudang knew the feud between the Void God Court and the Yellow Spring Dao Mansion very well. The 2 major forces had been fighting each other openly and secretly for a long time, and even had different cultivation styles. He also couldn't stand the Void God Court's many Hall Masters' arbitrary plundering and killing, and many Void Hall Masters died in his hands. There are times when the 2 major forces don't get along. In this situation, the 5 Dragon Lord won't make both sides too embarrassed, right? Sudang transmitted his voice. That's someone else. The 5 Dragon Lord is used to being domineering, and wants to suppress others and everything. He has targeted the Lord in the past, but the Lord repeatedly gave in, so nothing happened. The bull-headed Azura King said. In the Middle Ages, there was no great commander in the void. Sudang glanced at the Lord. The Lord had a gentle expression. At the last Holy Spirit conference, the 5 Dragon Lords wanted to compete with me in Taoism, and I just admitted defeat. The Shura Kings beside him all nodded, and Sudang blinked. Just admit defeat. Yes, after all, the status of the Lord of the Mansion is lower than that of the 5 Dragon Lords. If I admit defeat, I will admit defeat. Others will not say anything, but I'm different. I'm the Shura King Commander-in-Chief, representing the face of the Huanquindeo Mansion guarding the void. Admit defeat. How can I calm down the situation for the Huanquindeo Mansion in the future? When it is time to be tough, I can't be timid. Commander-in-Chief, please take a seat. Empress King bowed and invited. Please. Sudang nodded, took a step, and his figure appeared on the cloud in the hall, just opposite the 5 Dragon Lords. Next to him was Uluo Bodhisattva, Commander-in-Chief. Uluo Bodhisattva clasped his hands together, his face full of smiles. Greetings, Uluo Bodhisattva. Sudang also nodded. Greetings, Commander-in-Chief. Below, many holy spirits belonging to the Huanquindeo Mansion that govern the void also raised their glasses to toast. Sudang responded in the same way. Seeing a holy spirit in a white robe among the many holy spirits, he also nodded deliberately. Jiuhe Mountain Saint Lord sat there with a smile on his face. Jiuhe, you have a good relationship with the Commander-in-Chief. A holy spirit Zuzu next to him asked. What kind of relationship can I have with the Commander-in-Chief given his status? But the Commander-in-Chief has a deep relationship with the Silverblade Shura King. Jiuhe Mountain Saint Lord smiled. The Silverblade Shura King was also his entry disciple in the past. Now his strength has surpassed him. In terms of cultivating strong people, Huanquindeo Fu is much stronger than Jiuhe Mountain. I still remember that Yindao and Commander Sudang entered the Dao Fu in the same batch. Jiuhe Mountain Saint Lord also sighed. At the beginning, the Silverblade God was also very dazzling, but he was not as good as Sudang. At the beginning, Sudang was very amazing, and now he is even more extraordinary, and he has become a commander-in-chief. Sudang also felt that the world is wonderful. He has heard of the reputation of Jiuhe Mountain Saint Lord many times. He also has a lot of connections with him. But at that time, Jiuhe Mountain Saint Lord was just a legend in his eyes. Now, he is respected. The reason why the Saint Lord of Jiuhe Mountain was invited is because he was indeed very famous in the void in the Middle Ages. For example, the ruler of the ancient country of the 9 realms, just an ordinary holy spirit was not qualified to come. Haha, Commander Sudang. A rather rough laugh sounded. The 5 dragon god lord opposite sat on the cloud, holding up the wine glass. The dragon horn on his forehead pierced the sky, and the corners of his mouth were smiling, but his eyes were sharp as a gun. There was even more domineering and heroic between his eyebrows. I have heard that there was an amazing shuriken in our Middle Ages, but unfortunately I have never had the chance to see him. Today I have finally seen him. The 5 dragon god lord looked directly at Sudang with a burning gaze. You are flattering, Lord. Sudang also raised his wine glass in response. Praise? I'm not flattering, I'm just relaying what I heard. The 5 dragon god lord shook his head domineeringly. The lord of the mansion, the bull-headed shuriken, and others frowned when they heard this. This 5 dragon god lord is really rude. Other holy spirits also looked over, and some of the casual cultivators even had divine light in their eyes. They were also happy to watch this excitement. Sudang smiled and didn't care about the words. He hadn't even sat down yet, but the 5 dragons divine lord started to attack him. He drank the immortal wine in the cup. This book was recently updated in Update. At the Holy Spirit Conference, the immortal wine prepared was for the Holy Spirits to drink. Each cup was expensive, and the Holy Spirits would get drunk after drinking it. For those with inferior divine bodies and souls, 5 or 6 cups was the limit. Good wine. Sudang sighed. The 5 dragons divine lord frowned when he saw Sudang ignoring him. Suddenly, a plan came to his mind. The commander-in-chief has an extraordinary alcohol tolerance. Another cup. He picked up the wine glass and drank it all. Sudang smiled and drank another cup. Haha, another cup. Come on. The two of them drank 9 cups in a row. The ordinary holy spirits watched quietly. The more they drank, the stronger their divine bodies and souls were. After 9 cups, Sudang and the 5 dragon gods remained calm, and the divine laws on their bodies were not disturbed. It can be seen that their divine bodies and souls are far superior to them. This small cup of wine is not enough. Queen Mother King, bring your wine jar over. The 5 dragon gods said in a low voice. God, this fairy wine should be savored carefully. How can you drink it like you do? Queen Mother King said. She also winked at Uluo Bodhisattva and 3 Eyes Real Man, hoping that they would speak up to dissuade them. But Uluo Bodhisattva smiled. 3 Eyes Real Man looked indifferent and just watched. Okay, I will accompany God today to drink to my heart's content. Sudang also smiled. Queen Mother King had no choice but to order the fairies in the hall to bring the wine jar. Please. The 5 dragon gods looked at Sudang and said, grabbing a jar and drinking. Sudang also used his divine power to hold up a jar, and the wine, which was still glowing with a hazy divine light, flowed directly into his mouth. Both of them drank 3 jars in succession. This wine jar is a magical weapon of the immortals. It may not look big, but it has a space inside. 1 jar is enough for more than 10,000 cups. He drank 3 jars in a row. Not only Lady King, but even Bodhisattva Uluo and 3-eyed Immortal were a little surprised. The 5 dragons bloodline is extraordinary, and his divine body is famous for its strength. Is Sudang's divine body also so strong? The Holy Spirit wrote. The divine body is weak as a whole, unless it is a congenital creature with unique advantages, or some top demon body is extremely strong. How strong can an ordinary flesh body be? They don't know that Sudang had passed through the 2 realms galaxy blood tower and cultivated the ultimate king body. With the transformation of the star power and the evolution of the divine blood, his divine body and soul have reached a terrifying level. Although it is a flesh body, it is more powerful than ordinary divine weapons. After 3 jars, he drank half of the 4th jar. Sudang remained calm. The 5 dragons god's face changed. I have the blood of a real dragon, but I can't drink more than this. Sudang. Chapter 723. Do you dare to fight? After drinking 3.5 jars, the 5 dragons god felt that his soul was a little dazed for a moment, and then he woke up instantly. It's not that he didn't want to drink, he would fall down if he drank more. The alcohol contained in the immortal wine finally acts on the soul. In terms of divine body, I'm not inferior to him, but the soul. I didn't expect that Sudang's soul is so strong. I wanted to make him lose face. Forget it. He could withstand the divine body, but not the soul. The 5 dragons god swung the jar violently. Bang! The extremely hard jar of wine fell directly on the ground in the hall. Okay, Sudong, you have a good alcohol tolerance. I won't compete with you in drinking. Let's compete in Taoism. Not competing? Sudong, who had just drunk the 4th jar of immortal wine in one breath, looked at the 5 dragons god opposite him with a flash of light in his eyes. He smiled. He didn't compete because he was about to lose. He hadn't reached his limit yet. And the eyes of many holy spirits watching this excitement also lit up. The commander-in-chief can drink more than the 5 dragon lords. The bull-headed Shura King's eyes widened. Even I, an old bull, can't drink that much. What do you mean by good drinking capacity? It's because the commander-in-chief has a strong divine body. They excitedly communicated. Not only is his divine body strong, but his divine soul is also strong. The lord of the palace laughed. The 5 dragon lords have a strong divine body, but their divine soul is just average. The horse-faced Shura King grinned. The more terrifying the creatures are, the weaker their divine soul and will are. 5 dragon lords, you don't want to compete. You don't dare to compete. The bull-headed Shura King laughed out loud, and many Shura Kings booed. Ridiculous. My lord has an unparalleled drinking capacity, but he just doesn't want to drink today. Let's see the truth in Taoism. The 9 Void Palace Masters on the side of the Void Divine Court also spoke up. Ha ha ha. The 5 Dragon Lord laughed loudly and took a step forward. His robes fluttered and a shadow of a green dragon appeared faintly, coiling around him. The majestic power spread out and the whole hall could feel the palpitating and oppressive power. The faces of many holy spirits changed slightly. The 5 Dragon Lord could represent the Void Divine Court to guard the void in the Middle Ages, and his strength was imaginable. Only the 3-eyed immortal and the JWO Bodhisattva had relatively calm faces. After getting along for a long time, they were still clear about the strength of the 5 Dragon Lord. Sudong did not hesitate, and stood up as well. Since he was the commander-in-chief, he naturally had to take on the responsibility of fighting for the majesty of the Dao Mansion. Haha. Do you really dare to accept the challenge? The 5 Dragon Lord was uncertain. In the past, he had also challenged the Lord of the Mansion, but the Lord of the Mansion directly admitted defeat. According to the intelligence of the Divine Court, Sudong's strength is at most equal to that of the Lord of the Mansion. Even worse than the Lord of the Mansion, he still dared to accept the challenge. What he wanted to see was Sudong admitting defeat. Why not? Sudong smiled. He was wearing a white robe and standing in the clouds. His divine body was 3 meters tall, while the 5 dragon god was nearly 9 meters tall. Standing there, he looked more oppressive than him, but their strength had reached their level. How could they be distinguished by the size of their divine bodies? Just look at my methods first. The 5 dragon god smiled and waved his hand. A long spear appeared in his hand at some point. The spear was green in color, and there were dragon-shaped patterns carved on the spear shaft. As the 5 dragon god waved his hand, the entire spear shadow became blurred in an instant. Puff! It was like a dragon's tail was pulled out and hit the space in the wide hall fiercely. The speed was extremely fast. Bang bang bang. The space above the hall directly broke into terrifying black cracks, and each crack exuded terrifying power, and the cracks were still piercing deep into the source of the void and all kinds of Tao. It felt like the cracks had penetrated nearly 1,000 feet before the power dissipated and returned to calm. What a fast shot. The power is a real level 8. Sudong's eyes suddenly condensed. It can penetrate thousands of feet in space. This power is stronger than Pingshan Shura King. Dao is the Dao of life and death, but it also contains other Dao connotations, which are more inclined to destruction, destroying everything, and extremely domineering. In Sudong's core data space, the transformed will's face sank slightly. I have to admit that in terms of the accumulation of Dao, this 5 dragon god is indeed better than him. And his gun skills are also terrifying. If my 8th star is lit, and the star system is transformed and improved, I will have full confidence to fight him head on. Now, the other Shura Kings were also silent. This power is too terrible. As for Empress King, she looked at Sudong with some guilt. After all, this was a party she was responsible for organizing. It would be unacceptable for anyone to be suppressed. but the 5-dragon god was too domineering and strong, and she had no choice. The other many holy spirits watched silently. Is that the strength of the 5-dragon god? It's terrible. The big guys guarding the big forces in the void are all terrible. This book has been recently updated on #@ update. How about it? Seeing this shot of mine, do you still dare to fight? 5-dragon god said with a smile. Many Void Palace masters laughed. They thought Sudang would definitely give up. Come on. Sudang said calmly. Do you really dare? The eyes under the dragon horns of 5-dragon god sharpened a little. This Sudang is really brave. When strong people compete with each other, there may be injuries. This is not the Yellow Spring Deo Mansion. They have to be careful when they attack each other. It's called competition, but for the sake of face, they will definitely be ruthless. Right here? Sudang looked at 5-dragon god. Don't, my small temple can't stand the tossing of two big Buddhas. Queen Love opened her mouth and looked at 5-dragon god with embarrassment. Haha, Queen Love, don't worry, I'm here as a guest, not to destroy the house. Commander Su, let's go out and fight. Whoosh, the 5-dragon god flew out of the palace. Sudang also moved and turned into a stream of light and flew out. Great Commander, are you sure? The Lord of the Mansion hurriedly sent a message. Don't worry. Sudang smiled. The Lord of the Mansion nodded. He thought that with the protective artifact on Sudang's body, even if he lost some face, he would not be damaged. In fact, the commander can ignore the 5 dragons. How long has he practiced? How long has the commander-in-chief practiced? It's about the face of the Taoist mansion. How can I retreat? Sudang rushed out. Interesting. The 3-eyed real person turned into a sword light and flew out. Amitabha. Uluo Bodhisattva also used his body skills and followed quite ethereal. Many holy spirits also hurriedly followed. How can such a big battle be missed? The whole Wanhu realm was shaken. What? Great Commander Sudang wants to fight with the 5-dragon god. Many pharaohs talked about it. It's unbelievable. Sudang and the 5-dragon god, both of them had a high reputation in the void in the Middle Ages. The 5-dragon god, that is, he has been famous for a long time. The top powerhouse in the void. And Sudang, who has risen to this point, has long been very popular, especially in the eyes of many goddesses and fairies. He is even an idol. A fight between these two? Crazy. Many fairies rushed over to watch this battle. A barren area in the Wanhu realm. A barren desert without any life. Wulang Shenzhen and Sudang were suspended in the air, thousands of miles apart. There was a city thousands of miles away in the distance, and many holy spirit fairies were watching there. Commander Su, I admire you very much. Although you are young, you are brave enough. You didn't lose the face of the Shura King of the Yama Palace. Wulang Shenzhen smiled. Do it. Sudang smiled. Very good. Wulang Shenzhen held the spear and poked it forward fiercely. Boom. A spear tip with terrifying power suddenly enlarged in Sudang's eyes. The power of the Tao was terrifying, which made people palpitate. Chapter 724. Fighting. 3 Shura styles. The blurry gun shadow instantly penetrated the space of thousands of miles. So fast. The speed can be compared with Maikai and Kyu style. Sudang's heart trembled slightly. But then the Purgatory Divine Sword appeared in his palm, and the sword was blurred and swung forward. A bright sword light filled with the Deo of Killing instantly chopped out. With this sword, Sudang activated the star power. In terms of the power of the Deo, the 5-dragon god is far superior to him. To activate ordinary divine power, that would be crushed. With one slash, the gun shadow was instantly forced back. The tyrannical power was transmitted layer by layer, and it was transmitted to the divine body of the 5-dragon god. His tall divine body trembled. Then he looked at Sudang with surprise. The intelligence said that Sudang is good at divine body and can become the first in the Huangquan Deo Fu competition. His strength should be around the 9-crown Shura King, but this divine power can be compared with mine. Such a strong divine power achieved the Deo Zuan realm. The 5-dragon god was surprised. How long has it been to cultivate from the Deo Chu realm to the Deo Zuan realm? That was a big hurdle. He was born at the top of the Divine Emperor and became a holy spirit in 500 years, but it took him tens of thousands of years to break through the Deo Xuan realm. How long has Sudang been practicing? And he has already reached the Deoxuan realm. Although he was surprised, the Five Dragons god was still proud and confident. He said, "This knife technique is not bad. What's the name?" Confidence. Extremely confident. Even if Sudang's realm breaks through the Deoxuan realm and his divine power can be comparable to his, he still doesn't take it seriously. The Five Dragons god has the capital to be confident. His realm is slightly worse, which is indeed his shortcoming, but his bloodline is too high, with the blood of the real dragon, plus the various treasures bestowed by the Void God Court. Even if Sudang is 2 levels stronger than he is now, he is not worried. The strong divine body and the strong innate magical power are the capital of his confidence. Sudang smiled. This sword is called Shura. After 26 years of cultivation in the Shura world, although the speed of enlightenment is not as fast as in the mountain and sea realm, the eternal space slows down by 100 times, and still allows Sudang to create 3 sword techniques. These 3 sword techniques are all evolved from the sword techniques of the outer world. The power exceeds all of Sudang's previous sword techniques. They are named Shura, Dawn, and Chaos. They are also combined into the 3 styles of Shura. Shura. The Five Dragon god nodded slightly. Good name. Take another shot from me. Boom, the terrifying green gun shadow spread out instantly with the Five Dragon god as the center. The layers of space in the 10,000 flowers realm were shattered and quickly swept towards Sudang. Come on. Sudang's eyes were full of fighting spirit. He has grown up to this point, and he actually longs for battle in his bones. Since the Deofu competition, how long has it been since he had a hearty battle? Pingshan Shura King retreated just because he couldn't break his body protection artifact. This Five Dragon Lord is actually a good opponent. The Five Dragon Lord was full of confidence. Sudang also swung out with his sword. Destroy. With one swing of the sword, the space of 10,000 miles darkened. Then a sword light was like the dawn, tearing through all the darkness and slashing out horizontally. Boom. The sword light was like the moon, splitting the terrifying gun shadows. What? The face of the Five Dragon Lord changed slightly. The first sword was equal to him, but this sword directly crushed his gun skills. Boom. A stream of light flashed in front of him, and Sudang's entire divine body turned into a stream of light, with terrifying sword shadows wrapped around his body, and instantly burst out towards the Five Dragon Lord. During the burst, the majestic bloodlight rose and reflected, and the power of the divine body burst out, like the starry sky, rushed over in an instant. The Five Dragon Lord only felt a flash in front of his eyes. No matter how confident he was also scared. What is the strongest point of this Sudang? It's not the divine body, nor the sword skills, but the body skills. The divine body of the Five Dragon Lord did not take it seriously at all. He had never been defeated by anyone in this regard. His swordsmanship was only comparable to his spearmanship, but his body skills surprised him. This Sudang was not a weakling. He could become the great commander of the Void of Huanquan Deofu. His strength was definitely comparable to his. It's ridiculous that I still regarded him as a weakling. The Five Dragon Lord roared. Boom. His divine body turned, and the already huge divine body swelled several feet more. His 2 arms were muscular. He swung the spear and blasted out violently. In terms of the speed of divine body and body skills, he could not match Sudang, but the speed of waving the spear was faster. Bang bang. Sudang, who burst in front of him in an instant, was directly broken by the 2 guns. Sudang even felt that his own law was distorted by the oppression. If it weren't for Fihan Shura King's guidance on the 3 chapters of body skills, let his body skills go further, he would really be shot away by the Five Dragon Lord. How to deal with the body skills flow. One is to rely on the magic weapon to bind and confine. The other is to be faster than him, either in terms of body movement speed, or in terms of attack speed. The Five Dragons god is not good at body movement speed, but his attack speed is unparalleled. He pressed Sudang away with a gun, and then the Five Dragons god's eyes were cold. He was serious, staring at Sudang with a pair of dragon eyes with strong golden light, and stabbed with his spear. From Sudang's burst of speed to his blocking, and then to the counterattack, the Five Dragons god was completely done in one go. This book was recently updated in #@@@@. Update. So scary. completely evenly matched. The Five Dragons god was born in the demon clan, and his fighting style prefers close combat, but the close combat of the great commander Sudang is so terrifying. Many holy spirits held their breath and watched the battle in the sky in the distance. What do you know? I saw the great commander Sudang's battle in Huangquan. He is good at swordsmanship, so he is naturally good at close combat. Empress King also watched silently. Brother Sanayan, who do you think is more powerful? She communicated with Sanayan Zenran. In terms of relationship, she and the strongest independent cultivator were indeed close. Wulong will definitely win, but I didn't expect that Sudang could actually show such strength. Sanayan Zenran also had a look of surprise in his eyes. Uluo Bodhisattva just watched quietly. Boom. Wulong Shenjin thrust out with his spear skills, and the space at the top of the spear tip was broken like paper. A spear pierced directly into Sudang's forehead. It was called a battle, but this level of battle was no different from a life and death fight. They had no sect constraints. If they died in the battle, it could only be blamed on the other party being too weak. But Sudang's figure flashed. He easily avoided the spear. This Sudang's body skills are too slippery. Wulong Shenjin frowned. Sudang also felt it was difficult. This Wulong Shenjin is too good at fighting. My body skills are fast enough, and I burst out suddenly, but I can't even find any flaws in him. Wulong Shenjin was like a fighting machine. Standing there, just swinging the spear technique and the power of divine power suppressed him. It's also because my divine power is too different. If the divine power level is higher, I can directly crush him. Sudang sighed secretly. It's still because the divine power level is too low. That's why it's so difficult. True dragon body. Boom. The divine body of the Five Dragon Lord suddenly exploded to hundreds of feet in size, completely transformed into a green dragon, with ferocious dragon horns, 5 ferocious claws under the ribs, flashing a faint terrifying demon light. The long spear directly turned into a sharp fingertip above the 5 claws. Exploded. Whoosh. Sudang also exploded. Ultimate mode. Chaos. The space of the 10,000 flowers realm was like the surface of the sea, directly dented a large area, with a range of 10,000 miles, and collapsed instantly. There were sword lights everywhere, and sword lights fell on the huge dragon body transformed by the Five Dragon Lord. Chapter 725 Shocking the Void. That sword technique. Awesome. The three-eyed immortal stood up, his eyes full of shock. This Sudang was much more terrifying than he had expected. He has only practiced for 1,000 years. Or 1,000 years, and his sword technique is so strong. Shocked. Divine body and divine power are all accumulated in realms, but skills are different. Techniques are limited by one's own talent and understanding. Without talent and understanding, even if given thousands of years, the skills will not improve much, at most from unfamiliar to proficient. And those with high talent and understanding can innovate and create miracles in a short time. This is a miracle. After the Deo Mansion competition, Sudang's star system has transformed, his will has even transformed, and his understanding talent has surpassed the past, reaching a new level. How high is his understanding of sword techniques? Plus he has practiced in the eternal space for 2,000 years. The 3 sword techniques that were finally summarized are the Shura 3 styles. Shura is just the starting style, and Dawn is the accumulation of strength. The real outbreak is the final chaos. Once it breaks out, plus the increase in the ultimate mode, the power is at the top of the 8th level. This is also based on the original sword manual of the Demon Prison Blood Killer, compressing the sword technique in the battlefield prologue into 3 swords. Although it is not as fast as the Demon Prison Blood Killer, it is close. When it is compressed into 1 sword, without accumulation, the explosion is the Demon Prison Blood Killer, which is the 10th major achievement of the Heaven Beyond Heaven. The Five Dragon God, who has transformed into a real dragon body, was also shocked. This sword of Sudang is too strong, more terrifying than the previous 2 swords. Not only is the sword technique terrible, but the power increase is even more terrible. Star power plus ultimate mode. The space of thousands of miles is concave, and endless sword lights are dancing. Then a dark and terrifying void crack appears, and that crack falls directly on the dragon body of the Five Dragon God. The Five Dragon God raised his dragon head, and opened his mouth to roar. Roar. a strange power seemed to fall from the sky. It was the Deo essence representing the way of heaven. The gorgeous Deo essence condensed into a light gun. It stabbed fiercely on the dark crack. Bang bang bang. The surging power exploded like a mountain torrent. Is this a natural magical power? Sudong's robe fluttered, and he frowned as he looked at the brilliant light gun. The Deo contained in the brilliant light gun was extremely pure, and it was the perfect embodiment of the Deo. The swordsmanship of the 5 dragon gods was naturally not so perfect. It could only be a natural magical power. Natural magical powers are bestowed by the heavens. The powerful bloodline of the demon clan is like the innate creatures, and is loved by heaven and earth. Because they have intelligence, and those acquired beasts and other successful monsters, they joined the demon clan. The ancestor dragon in the dragon clan legend. It was born when the endless void was still in chaos, and it is the ancestor of all dragons. The ancestors are too powerful, so the bloodline continues, and the descendants will also have inherited memories. Because the ancestors were born innate, they naturally have natural magical powers. The 5 dragon gods were at the level of the divine emperor when they were born, and the inherited natural magical powers are also terrible. My 9 nether fire lotus divine body's innate magical power is to master the 9 nether divine fire. As long as it takes a lot of resources and treasures to nourish it, the strongest can even reach the power of the Deoxuan realm. The blood level of this 5 dragon god should be higher than my 9 nether fire lotus divine body, and his innate magical power is also more abnormal. Sudong sighed secretly. Innate magical power is something that cannot be envied. Besides, this 5 dragon god has innate magical power, and he has swordsmanship. If the swordsmanship is pushed to the extreme, it may not be as perfect as the way of heaven. Puff. The hideous and twisted black cracks collided with the light gun, and the power penetrated. It fell on the huge dragon body of the 5 dragon god, and the power exploded on the dragon scales, revealing a trace of golden divine blood. Puff. The power of the light gun also burst through the black cracks and shot in front of Sudong. It instantly penetrated, and directly passed through Sudong's divine body. But the moment it penetrated, Sudong's divine body turned into a phantom and dissipated. When it appeared again, it was already 5,000 miles away. The speed was so fast that the power could not touch him at all. Sudong stood with a knife in his hand, looking at the divine body of the 100-meter long 5 dragon lord, which was broken up bit by bit, and then recovered in the blink of an eye, and his face was heavy. The true dragon body of the 5 dragon lord is really terrifying. According to the intelligence, when the 5 dragon lord was just a demon king, and had not broken through the Holy Spirit, he once fought with the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor. At that time, the dragon body could crush the Holy Spirit Void Ancestor. Now that the 5 dragon lord has become a Holy Spirit in the Deoxuan realm, how powerful is his divine body? At least stronger than his super touch divine body. I resisted the power of alcohol before, because my will took shape, and the strength of my soul is much stronger than his. If there is anything that Sudong is confident of surpassing the 5 dragon lord, it is the soul. However, the 5 dragon lord also has a body protecting artifact to protect the soul. The body protecting artifact protects the soul. It has no effect at all. Just like his body protecting divine lotus, no matter what kind of powerful attack, it can be greatly weakened. After the collision, the dragon body of the 5 dragon lord is huge, and his dragon eyes are like 2 lanterns burning with golden flames, staring at Sudong. Sudong was dressed in a white robe, looking at him calmly. Commander Su, you are strong enough. The god is also powerful. Sudong smiled. Haha. The 5 dragon god laughed. Then the huge dragon body transformed into a human form. Let's stop here today. What do you think, Commander Su? This book has been updated recently in .. Update. He was the one who proposed the fight, and now he is the one who said he wanted to stop, which is actually a disguised recognition of Sudong's strength. Okay. Sudong had no objection. The two stopped at the same time. In fact, Sudong also understood that, even if the 5 dragon god didn't have a body protecting artifact, he couldn't do anything to the latter. There was no way. The difference in divine power was too big. It would be best to stop like this. In the distance, Empress King flew over gracefully. She quickly said peace. But she looked at Sudong with a lot more respect. Before, when she looked at Sudong, she valued the Huangquan Daofu, the Shuriking of the Yama Palace, and all kinds of backgrounds behind Sudong. Now, Sudong's strength alone made her feel in awe. After practicing for 1,000 years, he is so strong. In another 1,000 years, he will be another Shuriking of Yama Palace. 5 Dragon Lord. He is only strong now. In terms of potential, 10 of him cannot compare to 1 Sudong. 5 Dragon Lord also understands this. No matter how unhappy he is, he can't do anything. The strong are respected. Besides, Sudong's strength is comparable to his now. Silence. Many holy spirits, fairies, and even the 9 masters of the Void Temple who watched this battle in the entire desolate desert area are no longer arrogant. They were full of confidence before, because the strength of 5 Dragon Lord was rooted in their hearts. Sudong, even if he has some strength, he is destined to be crushed. But unexpectedly, this battle made them dumbfounded from the beginning, and even more shocked at the end. The terrifying sword light and the demon-like body skills forced 5 Dragon Lord to display the body of the real dragon, but they were still tied. How did this Sudong practice? I have seen his battle in Huangquan. He was a god at that time. Now he can fight with the Lord? These masters of the Void Palace were in a trance. Many other fairies all had divine lights in their eyes. Fujin and other Shurikings were very happy. At that time, the commander-in-chief didn't use his full strength to deal with Kijin. The stronger the commander-in-chief, the happier they were. After this battle, the Hall Masters of the Void God Court will restrain themselves when they see them in the future. Bodhisattva, from now on, the Void will have another top-notch strongman. The three-eyed true man said. Purgatory is still there. This is a blessing for the Void. Uluo Bodhisattva smiled. The three-eyed true man glanced at him and said nothing more. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.